where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Happy Tuesday, you pork chop eating bastards. We're here for another episode of the Barroom Podcast, episode number 25. Yes, we have committed enough time in our lives to making the 25 episodes. That is an achievement in and of itself. And I'm here with my lovely cast of regulars that we have here on the show tonight. So let's introduce everyone. Let's go ahead and introduce our good buddy all the way somewhere in the woods in Georgia. C.S. Johnson, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty well. It sounds like everyone's starting to get sick, so yeah, it sounds like we should probably get this show out of the way, over with as quickly as possible. Also, joining us somewhere in the upper side of New York State. I forgot to ask you this last week. How bad was the snow in your area last week? You're muted, by the way.
Oh,
it's sticking around. Let's just say that it's.
The worst.
Did you get about
did you
4
get like
or
the
5 inches?
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, because up here we don't get it from the central New York unless it decides to just do a wicked arc.
Yeah. Because I know in Buffalo they got like something like 7 feet of snow, which was insane.
Yeah, they miss us all the time.
Man, lucky you.
Yeah, Canada gets their stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is why I fucking hate Canada. Joining us is a recovering Jets fan, Cole Casacage. How you doing tonight?
Well, I know not to take the Jets seriously, so when they do lose in such dramatic fashion, I laugh. It's like, I knew it was going to happen. It's so obvious. I called it, that last play. I literally called it, and my dad was just watching, and then when I saw that homeboy was like straight to the end zone, I just started fucking laughing my ass off. So yeah, I know the Jets very well. I know to expect them to fuck up in the absolute worst way possible, and they lived up to their name. So. It's
something like 16 in a row now against the Patriots or some crazy nonsense like that.
We haven't beaten the Patriots in years,
And you never will.
Years. Yeah, at this point, I feel as though it's just one of those things where, and you can tell Belichick's so cocky about it too. Like, he does not take the Jets even remotely seriously, even though they have a decent defense, one of the best in the league. Actually, you could tell absolutely that Belichick doesn't give a fuck, and that he will always act cocky as shit when facing the Jets. And I guess he has a right to be given, but. Everything's been cool. Have sleeping kitty in my lap and ready to get into these topics.
Joining us on the show now from Sick Row, aka California, Nerdigans. How you feeling right now?
My throat is sore, my head is pounding, and I don't think it's COVID because otherwise my throat wouldn't be sore. I haven't been sick in like at least 3 years, so this really just goddamn sucks.
Hope you get better soon.
It seems like it's going around a bit. But someone who's not as sick as everyone else here, Mr. Rob Motto, eating well today. How you doing today, Rob?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, it's been 16 straight games the Jets have lost to the Patriots. So I think that's 8 years worth of games.
Sounds about right.
So better days ahead for the Jets, hopefully. But I actually got Quentin Tarantino's new book, Cinema Speculation, today as an early Christmas present. So I'm looking forward to reading that. So
yeah,
doing pretty good. Now.
Look, at this point, if you're like the Bears going up against the Packers, or if you're like the Bills going up against Tom Brady, just pack it in. You're not going to win. Like, why even have hope at this point in time? We've seen this movie many times before.
To be fair, it's like everyone expected the Jets to lose to the Bills last week, and they beat them. It's pretty shocking. It's one of those things where it's like the Jets, when they have everything stacked against them, for some reason sometimes they come out the winner, and then when there's games that the Jets should win, They lose in the most stupidest fashion imaginable. So.
It's not even the fact that they lose; they find a way to lose in like beatdown of the year category style, like every single time. It's like either it's like 45-3 in New England, or that one Monday night game where they just got blown the f out, where it wasn't even like remotely competitive. Like they just had so many ways to like lose the game, just not just lose it, to lose it badly. It's just you almost feel bad for them, though, just almost. But I mean, they're the Jets; they should be used to it at this point.
You literally described the Chargers, but they have the Spanos curse, so
yeah. And
they
moving to
always
LA,
find a way to lose.
moving to LA has not helped them at all. They're still
No,
the
it just
Chargers.
made the curse worse.
Well, let's invite our guys in the chat here really quick. Duke Dukem, he's here joining us once again tonight. Spencer is in the chat joining us once again. Wants to make with the funny. I already know this person, but we're not going to introduce them. Neo is here. Neo is in the chat with us. Johnson is also somewhere in the chat. Nola Boy is also in the chat with us tonight, saying what's up to Cassie. So what's up to you guys? And our good buddy Alex versus Evil, who's also here with us as well. So everyone who's here in the chat, we're getting ready for another show. But unfortunately, we do have to start this on a bit of a downer note because, as you guys knew, over this weekend, the tragic passing of one Jason David Frank, who is well known as being essentially the Power Rangers guy. I mean, I don't want to like overstate this, but I feel like when you look at how Power Rangers in the 90s blew up in popularity, it was directly related to him because he was such a popular character, and he stayed with the show throughout so many iterations, from Mighty Morphin, the Zeo, the Turbo. Then he came back years later. I think it was the Dino Thunder, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was the mentor in Dino Thunder, and then he came back in Forever Red.
Yeah.
And then he was in Megaforce as well.
So, go ahead.
He also had a couple cameos in the 2017 Power Ranger movie.
Yep, sure did. I think he was in both of those ones as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way that this story kind of unfolded, very late Saturday night, there was a couple of Twitter posters. I guess they were like kind of like the Geekdom Twitter accounts, if you follow that type of thing.
Geekdom 101, who's actually one of my really good friends. Yeah, he posted it. And Unreal Entertainment, who's another Dragon Ball YouTuber.
Yep. So those were like the first guys to kind of like break the story by saying that, hey, we just heard that, he died and then it was a suicide. But obviously people were waiting for like TMZ to report it before it got named official or whatnot. So there was a lot of people over the weekend that were kind of hoping that this story would turn out to be a hoax. And I think what kind of set in for me is that usually when you have these type of hoax stories that translate on the internet, someone will come out like hours later and be like, hey, this is just bullshit. The guy's still alive. Don't believe what you read on the internet. But as hours and hours went on, like no one said anything, which is usually not a good sign. And then we had to sadly confirm later that Sunday that he did in fact pass away at the age of 49 via suicide. Now, I think there was an update that just came out a little while ago saying, I guess what kind of, not directly what led into it, but kind of like the last hours of what happened. As you know, he apparently he'd been in an active ongoing divorce with his wife. They split a few months ago. She accused him of cheating on her, which led to the divorce. There was like some custody hearings and a pretty nasty legal battle for what it seemed like behind the scenes. These two were apparently in a Texas hotel on Friday night, who were in the middle of the divorce. They got separate rooms, but they had a couple of arguments throughout the course of the night. And apparently at one night it got so bad that that his wife, or ex-wife, I should say, called the police concerned for his safety. So there had to have been some kind of communication between them that raised a red flag for her. And then police investigated and they found him hung in his bathroom and they ruled it a suicide. So it's just a very, very sad situation for a guy. Like I said, this is a guy who had seemingly turned his life around the last few years. He did a lot of work with the Power Rangers fandom. He organized a lot of events to get old school Power Rangers fans together. He did a lot of work throughout the series for the course of so many years. He was a well-liked guy. Everyone liked him. Everyone said that he was like the nicest guy to be around, especially if you were a fan of his or a fan of the show. So I mean, this whole story just kind of generally sucks all the way around. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was a big Power Rangers fan, just like a lot of the people were growing up. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was the biggest fan, but I mean, we all grew up at the time where it was at its hottest. It's kind of funny to me that I'm seeing like all these people like posting like video tributes for Tommy, but they're posting like the old like Super Sentai footage that technically wasn't him, but obviously they just identify the Green Ranger and the White Ranger with Tommy, and you know I mean, like I said, it's a very, very sad situation. It's not, an easy one to touch. But I just want to go ahead and get kind of your thoughts on the whole situation. What the guy like meant to you, being a Power Rangers fan and kind of just a fan of his over the years. I'll start with Orange Chat here. I know this is something that you wanted to talk about. So, what are your thoughts on Jason, David, Frank?
Honestly, when I heard the news, I was in total freaking denial. It was over the weekend. Mainstream is usually very late to the game on this sort of thing, especially during the weekend, and I just wouldn't accept it. And everybody's like, "It happened, man." And I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll do a video." But I have been a Power Ranger fan since I was a kid. I've watched all the friggin' episodes. I recently watched all the damn episodes. I mean, when you watch them as an adult, they're cringe as hell. But still, Jason David Frank he influenced my life as a young kid. I was always into martial arts, but when he came along in the Power Rangers, I absolutely wanted to be the Green Ranger. He was the best one. And man, a thing that I really liked about the Green Ranger was he was brutal when it came to going up against the Power Rangers. He didn't hold back. I'll always like the portrayal that Jason David Frank gave as Tommy Oliver. Not to mention, he stayed with this persona his whole life. As from introduction until the closeout of the tragic closeout of his life. And I absolutely love the Death Battle video from the Death Battle YouTube channel where it was Tommy versus, I believe, Ryu. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's just like the best freaking live action death battle I've ever seen.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a guy who, when he started the show back in like '93, I believe he was only like 20 years old, like when he started. Yeah. So I mean, this is a guy who pretty much grew up with the series.
Mm-hmm. And it just worked. I mean, him and Amy Jo Johnson had a great chemistry, and even years later, they would still have that same kind of chemistry. I mean, when they both did the whole cameo for the Power Ranger movie, it's like there they are both together. It's like good to see them. I mean, him dying, it hurt, man. And you can even see it in my video when I did my own tribute. It's like, this hurts. This hurts my heart, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those situations too where it's like I don't want to we just read you the part about the TMZ article about him and his wife, and clearly they were having a rough patch, and obviously that led to him committing suicide. I don't want to just sit here and throw all the blame at her, be like it's her fault. No. At the end of the day, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, you don't know who's in the right, who's in the wrong, and how ugly things got. It's just sad that it ended like this. You know what I mean?
There's also a rumor that I heard that his stepdaughter committed suicide like a year ago as well, and that is really on top of that.
Yeah, and like I said, it's been a rough patch. I mean, I could see a guy, going through something like that, and all of a sudden going to a divorce. Keep in mind, they were married for 22 years, so this wasn't like someone who we had married the last few. Like they've been together a while. They had like 4 kids together as well. So I mean, this is someone who we spent most of his life with. So I mean, it's just all around. It's just a sad story to look at. Cassie, I know you talked a little bit about this on your channel. So I mean, what's generally your thoughts on the whole Jason David Frank?
Personally, I don't really know if I've watched him. I was telling, we did like a live stream, and a lot of my viewers were honestly upset about it. And, I really feel for them. And the honestly, the only Power Rangers I remember distinctly watching because I had the action figures was Power Ranger Space, and I don't think he was in that. I couldn't. The thing is, I was like 3, 4 years old. I
Yeah.
can't really say. I can't really distinguish what other Power Rangers I watched. And to be honest with you, I kind of jumped off the Power Rangers train once I discovered Dragon Ball Z. So that's just me personally. But look, the one thing I take away from Jason David Frank is that he respected his fans, and that is the thing that all the people that loved and adored him, they constantly mention. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, and it's really sad to see that someone that gave so much to people that valued him, it's sad to see him go in this way. It's sad to see anyone that seemed to be a pretty decent person um you know commit suicide. I wish that he could have found the help that he needed. I wish that his family dispute could have been settled in a more in a better way. But at the end of the day, we don't know exactly what happened. We don't know the details. We don't know how serious it all was. And a lot of us 90s and late 80s kids, we definitely we look back on all this stuff. And I was telling my viewers that you got to be prepared that a lot of people that we valued, loved, and cherished in their work, these people are going to start going, and it's going to become a normal thing. And we have to be prepared for that. And the best way to celebrate these people is to celebrate their work, to share their work, to appreciate their work. And I guess that's the best thing we can do in this situation. Celebrate Jason David Frank, appreciate and show his work to your children, or whatever, man. Rewatch it again. Talk about the good things that you appreciated about this individual. It's the best thing we could do. I'm sure that he would love to be remembered in a good light, and that's important for fans to do at this point, especially since he gave so much to his fans. That's the least that the fans could give back.
Yeah. Rob, what is kind of your thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, I was actually I was a fan of the Power Rangers when I was a kid. I was pretty young, and I kind of think of it as a kid's show, even though there's, violence or whatever, fighting or whatever. But yeah, no, I was a fan of it as a kid. I even remember going to see the Power Rangers movie with Ivan Ooze. I can't.
I watched the hell out of that VHS tape.
Yeah, and
meet my kids.
Right, yeah, Orange Hat's right. It is pretty embarrassing or cringe to watch. It's like I liked that kind of thing, but no, and so it's like, so he was a part of my childhood in that way. And it sucks kind of what happened to him. And I never went to a Comic-Con. I never met him. I didn't do anything like that, but it sounds like he was really respectful of fans and really was a nice guy and consistent. And that's really hard to find, especially if in Hollywood and show business in general. There's a lot of people that are just fake or vapid, and so it's good that he had that lasting impact on his fans.
I do have a question here for Neo before I go with Johnson here. He says, what was your favorite Tommy Oliver moment in any Power Ranger special that he appeared in? I think for me, one of the things that always sticks up with me is like right before he turned into like the White Ranger, he had left the show for like a short period of time, right? So the episode where they brought him back, I just remember like the episode where he like walks into like Angel Grove and they're only like showing him by his feet, right? So then they're playing like the drums in the background, and then he's standing in a room by himself, and you slowly pan up to see that Tommy's back. He's like, where the hell's everybody go? And then they play the Green Ranger theme. So that was one of the things from like the Power Rangers like episodes, especially the older episodes that I remember for him back in the day. But Johnson, I did want to get your thoughts on the situation before we go to the other point.
Okay. Well, I'm very saddened by it too. Suicide is not a good thing, and I think it really is something that only the most desperate people and the most depressed people. Jeez.
I think that was
sec.
you.
Yeah.
Excuse
I'll be
you.
right back.
All right. Well, once you've taken care of that, did you guys have any favorite moments from Power Rangers with Tommy that you guys remember?
Well, something I do want to say too, that it should be mentioned because no one else is going to talk about it, or no one else really is talking about it, is Tommy was one of the first like Native American representation on TV, and on kids TV outside of animation, with like GI Joe and back in the day. But like he was looked up to by a lot of Native American kids back in the day, and that was before the forced representation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
But I just loved Tommy's spirit. I love what he did for not just obviously the fandom, but just what he stood for in terms of the power that everyone had inside of them. Because remember the saying, "May the power be with you."
Yeah, I agree. Did you guys have any moments?
There's just too many god dang moments where he was such a badass.
Oh, remember when he became the Black Ranger in Dino Thunder?
Yeah,
I never watched that far.
I did remember going back.
Dino Thunder's really, really good.
I do remember going back and watching that season because I heard they were bringing him back on the show, and it was kind of good to like to see him again. I was like, I think it was like 2004, if I'm not mistaken. So it had been like a good 7-8 years since he had left the show. So it was good to see him back in that same role. Even then, they were like making like jokes about him being like an old man and whatnot. He's only like in his 30s when he did that stint. So.
But there's also like Forever Red when he came and led the rest of the Red Rangers up to like the current Red Ranger. That was so epic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. And like I said, just seeing like all the like the cast like doing their like their tributes, it's like this kind of fucking just bums me out. But Johnson, I believe you were making a point before a very loud horn.
Oh yeah.
Away.
So apparently my garage door was open and my cat was running away. So.
Oh, that's bad.
Yes. So I've noticed, for what it's worth, that my pets like they don't bother me at all during the day, and then as soon as like it's like the kids on the phone thing, it's like the minute they know I'm preoccupied with something else, it's like, hey, let's cause problems.
Yeah.
So, I was just saying that suicide is really bad, and it's something that only the most desperate and depressed people have dealt with, and I just will say like I've been depressed several times, just for various reasons. And I've never wanted to go that far. So I empathize and sympathize with the losses. But I really hope the big takeaway from this is that nobody wants you to commit suicide, So at your very, very worst, it is your duty to suffer so that other people will suffer less.
Yeah. And I mean, I used to be one of those people who are like very hard on people who committed like suicide and whatnot because, I mean, you really just look at it, you're just transferring the pain that you're suffering onto people who actually do care about you, who are going to have to live on and deal with that pain too. So it's like, I mean, this is a guy, like I said, who, whether he was on good terms with his ex-wife or not, now she has to deal with this, and the guy has 4 kids. They're going to have to deal with this like the rest of their life. So it's not going to be an easy thing for anyone to like move over from. But like I said, it's hard to like judge people who are, just like really down on their luck and just kind of like the worst way possible. And it's like, we're not talking about like people who are just like depressed over like trivial things. I mean, look, losing your wife of 22 years and losing like some possibly your kids as well is a very, very tough thing to go through. And I can't really judge anyone too harshly about how they react to it. So like I said, just all around, this is a very unfortunate situation that I don't think anyone likes. But one thing that I always say is that people do die time to time, and whether it's a tragic situation like this one, or maybe just someone just dies of old age, I always kind of look at it as an opportunity to celebrate that person's raw life rather than just be just completely depressed by it as well. So that's probably one of the. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, and well, one of the things too to take away from it, is to just reach out to other people. Like I know, having been depressed, it's hard for people to like. Mm-hmm. It's hard to reach out to people and say, "Hey, I need help," and so you should do your best to check in on people and make sure your people are okay, and I feel like on some of the added tragedy of this is just that he didn't have much of a support system that was like real enough and like strong enough to like pull him back from that ledge.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, I don't know. For me, that's like the saddest thing is all, because like I said, I've never been to that point, but I've also had lots of people holding me back anyway too.
Yeah.
So take care of your people.
Neil had a question here if you saw the reaction from any other cast. I did see Austin St. John did a tribute to him, and I think Walter Jones also did one as well. Those were the only two that I've seen. I'm not saying that nobody else did one. I just haven't seen theirs yet. Those are the only two that I saw. So if anyone else that saw the other ones.
I want to say this because I've been in this position before. Obviously, I've lost my boyfriend, and then a few months later, my one of our other friends died from heroin overdose. So yeah, that wasn't fun. But the thing is, though, like people, and this is from my experience, because I did have attempted suicide twice, at least twice, is that you have to find your own way of coping and finding your own way of therapy, because it doesn't work for everyone. Like for me, a therapist doesn't work. I just don't trust people. I have a very good reason of why not to trust people after what I've been through. But I found my way of doing it. YouTube has been the best thing for me. I know it's weird, but I don't feel as judged when I'm just talking to a camera. And people just have to find their own way of doing it, whether it's through like art. Martial arts probably was for, I'm just assuming, for Jason David Frank for a long time. That's probably was his outlet for a while. And he probably didn't have it for a while, and that probably really didn't help. I'm just assuming, but
yeah. I mean, like I said, that happens to a lot of people. It's like, when you're kind of attached to a property or a sport or a job for so many years, and then it just kind of ends, whether it's, for your own doing or not in your own doing. People have that tough time of like kind of coping of, okay, what's next? Like my life has been this for so many years. Like, what do I do now that is gone? And that can also contribute to a lot of, the factors of depression as well. So, like I said, this sucks, but hopefully now people are in a position where they can kind of celebrate like what he did and the type of person that he was, rather than look at his last days and things of that nature. So, like I said, it's a sad story, but unless anyone has any other points they want to make here, we can go on to our next topic.
Well, generally, if you're feeling depressed, if you're dealing with something, please seek help. And there's plenty of different outlets. There's always something different to try. It's just do what makes you happy. Try not to, try to avoid putting yourself in a situation that Jason David Frank ended up in, really.
I mean, look, a lot of people I know when they get suicidal, they think that, no one else is going to like care or mind when they're gone. It's like, talk to the people who you think would care if you were gone, and then just talk to them. Like, just have at least a conversation with them to get you in the right state of mind. Because I know some days are better than other days. Other days is really, really tough. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that as much as you're down on yourself, there's always going to be somebody out there that cares about you. And, you don't want to give them any more pain that they'll have to go through even when yours ends. So
also get a therapy kitty. A therapy animal is always helpful.
Yeah, go get a big dog like a man, but we'll get
right.
All right,
do whatever works for you. A therapy animal is just like the best thing ever. For me, it's a kitty. But if a dog works for you, a dog works for you.
Yeah, just don't get a pig. Don't do what Alexa Bliss did and get a pig in like the state of Florida, and then wonder why no vet can treat her pig in Central. Like, there's a reason. Like, go to the Midwest if you want to be a pig doctor vet. No one's gonna know how to treat those things in Orlando. Like, stop it. But yeah, let's move on to our next topic. Let's try to lighten the mood here. Something that is finally done, The Walking Dead. After what seems like 11 years and 15 years and 11 seasons, this show is finally over. Now, not too long ago, this is a show that, if you remember when they brought Negan on, which I don't even remember what season that was. I think it might have been 7. But at one point, they had about like 17 million people watching this show. Like, this was at one point the number one most watched show like in the country at this point. This is even beating Game of Thrones in terms of like popularity. But its popularity died off quick. And what I mean, by the time you got to about 2 years after that, you only had somewhere about 2 million people watching this, which is a drop off of 15 million viewers, which is absolutely insane. And It just feels like this show should have ended about 5 years ago, but they didn't because this is all that AMC had, and just kept going and going and going. And it's like, so now they finally decided to end the show. The show is over, but they're still giving you spin-offs. They're already planning like several different spin-offs of the Walking Dead universe. It's just like, let it go. The zombie phase is over. It's been over, but they cannot let this go. So the show ended. I mean, they brought Rick back. They brought Michonne back. Most of the people, I guess, are still alive. I mean, if you care about, all that stuff. Only point I wanted to bring up on this one is that, yeah, they already announced multiple spinoffs. There's going to be one about Rick coming in the next few years. There's going to be one with Daryl that they're filming overseas, I think in Europe right now. So they're still going to keep this thing going. The only thing that they ended is the main show. And it's just like, okay, it's finally done, but I mean, you guys are still keeping this thing going. So I mean, is it really done? I mean, are we going to get is it going to be 2040 and we're still going to be doing Walking Dead spinoffs? It feels like that's what's going on here. Our buddy Slade at Bounding Emmett Comics reviewed the full last season. And according to him, he says here, the prose was a well-executed latter half of the season finale. Obviously, the cameos that I mentioned here. Uplifting ending that feels like a complete reset because they're going to do spinoffs, so that's part of the reset. And then the cons here, apparently they went pretty woke in the last season with a whole bunch of pro-capitalist nonsense. The run-of-the-mill characters designed to tick boxes, and too many characters to care about, which I'll say this. If you remember the episode, and I don't even remember what season this was because it was so overbloated, but it was the season where I guess there were a whole bunch of characters died and had their heads like on sticks and whatnot. I'm pretty sure if you guys know about The Walking Dead, you guys might remember this. But I remember them like panning out to like each and every character who was died and had their head on a stick. I'm just sitting there like, I don't know who any of these characters are. Like, I know there's supposed to be like some big emotional moment, and I'm supposed to be like, no, I can't believe that. It's like I don't know who any of these people are. Like, who are these people? It's like, yeah. So it's like it's bad. And then yeah, Spencer said he doesn't even know how Slade could have watched all of it. Yeah. So then here was the other problem. This is why I actually gave up on Game of Thrones. Rick was supposed to leave the show like at least 4 or 5 years ago, and they had they had written him off of the show. So he has like this one episode where like he's on a horse and he's wounded, and you think he's gonna die, and the next thing you know he's being airlifted like somewhere. So it's like, okay, this is the end of Rick's character, right? And then he goes on that Talking Dead show with fucking Chris Hardwick, and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing a spin-off movies of The Walking Dead. So now that you ripped the character off the show, here comes the Rick Walking Dead movies. And I was like, fuck you, fuck this show, fuck everybody. And I think pretty much a lot of other people felt the same way because after that whole thing ended, like that show was fucking done. So I don't know how you guys feel about The Walking Dead. I don't know if you guys got into it early on and jumped off like everybody else, or you just never got into it. But for anyone here who wants to talk about The Walking Dead for a second finally being over, go ahead. And Orange Hat has his hand raised, so I guess you want to start this one off.
Yeah, I'm pissed off that the show lasted so long because fucking Norman Reedus was supposed to be doing Boondock Saints 3 by now. And the only reason why that movie has gone so long without without production going through is because the goddamn Walking Dead show. I mean, It's like, you do know that a lot of people really want Norman Reedus to either get killed off or just for the show to just end because we want him and Sean Patrick Flannery to be killing some freaking mobsters and shit. We want our gratuitous violence back. You know? Yeah. I mean, as much as people liked The Walking Dead, and I get that, you're allowed to. I'm not going to say you can't. I mean, the only episode I thought was funny as hell was when Negan beat the hell out of that dude in the head and his eye was starting to come out. Yeah, I mean, that was freaking hilarious.
That's honestly, that's when the show peaked. Like, the show could have just ended like right there because it never got any better than that moment.
I thought it was already shit before that, but
Jeffrey Dean Morgan made that show a bigger success than it was supposed to be. And it's like, as much as I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it's like, dude, you weren't supposed to make it that good. Knock it off. Give me my Boondock Saints 3. I want my Boondock Saints 3.
Cass, let me ask you.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. I jumped off the train a long time ago. I think it was at the end of season 4. Is that the prison one with the governor?
With the governor,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought. By the way, I thought he was an interesting character. Whatever he ends up dying or whatever. So I was just like, the show kept going in the same cycle. I would not have imagined it would have lasted another 7 seasons. I mean, this is a show that started when I graduated high school. I mean, I'm 33. It's literally since I graduated high school to now, almost that entire span. And so I was interested in the show. The graphic novel has an amazing reputation. It's something I plan to read one day. But like, the series is just the same crap over and over again. And if it got better after season 4, I mean, maybe it's worth checking out. But I think a lot of people lost interest a long time ago. And it's a shame because like it was interesting for a while, but then they just kept doing the same kind of shit season after season. And I just had to call it quits.
There was a formula with the show which people caught up with very, very early on. It's like the group would find like a new place to like call their home for like a couple of months, and then they would try to like rebuild whatever they had lost there. And then someone would come, they would get overrun by zombies, and then they would go to the next place where they would try to rebuild and make it their own. And then some evil guy showed up, burned down the place. They'd have to go somewhere else. And like, this just kept repeating over and over and over again. Like, it was with the farm, then it was with the prison, then it was Woodbury, then it was like the whole thing with the cannibals. It's like, it just kept going over and over again. It's like, I think people kind of caught on to, okay, this show's just never going to end. And there's a quick little sidebar here to show you how long this show's been on. I was in Atlanta when I first lived here back in 2010, and I remember when they were literally filming in downtown Atlanta with the zombies. Now, I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever been to downtown Atlanta, but it looks like a zombie apocalypse already hit that bitch, right? So you don't have to do like any like makeup or special effects in the town. You can just throw people in zombie makeup and film, and it looks like a zombie apocalypse. And I remember watching them film this scene in 2010. The show just ended last week. So it's
crazy.
Go ahead.
Well, you know what?
Cassie.
They had to shut it down because Atlanta's getting gentrified. So
Yeah. I mean, it looked worse in 2010 than it probably does now. I mean,
it's a
here's
lot
the
better
thing.
lately.
South Atlanta tends to fall to shit, especially if they allow idiots like Alyssa Milano to visit that area.
yeah, she doesn't help. And then Will Ferrell too. You can send him back as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when The Walking Dead first came on, I loved it. I love zombie shit, so naturally I gravitate toward it. My mom also loves zombie stuff. That's pretty much where I get most of like my horror movie likes from, is my mother, and she was super into it. It became like a family event every Sunday night to watch The Walking Dead for a few years, and I was very wholeheartedly into it until season 4, and after season 4, it just it falls right off a cliff. And what pissed me off about The Walking Dead the most is that my favorite character was Glenn. Like, he was my favorite character, and literally how his character ends up is the biggest fucking slap in the face, because it's like his character before he got killed, like the season prior, he was just this massive plot device. Everyone thought he was dead. Just for him to be like, hey, surprise, I'm actually not dead. And then literally in the season afterwards,
The whole stupid thing with the dumpster, right?
Yes. And then the season afterwards, he gets his fucking head smashed in. It's just like, okay, I don't give a fuck anymore. You had me really fucked up by using my favorite character as this massive plot device and it just shit all over his character. He was like a very resourceful dude. He was the dude that could sneak around. He was actually helpful, and then you just made him a bullshit plot device. So yeah, fuck you guys over at The Walking Dead for doing that. And once he got killed off, I said, I don't give a fuck anymore. This is garbage. I'm out. And I stopped watching after he died. And I know that it got worse since then. The one thing I did gather from that season with Negan was that he basically made all the main characters his bitch. Like, everyone else just sucked when Negan came into the framework. And it's just like, okay, like, I'm glad, like, I'm getting, the thing is, my mother would watch the shows even though I stopped watching entirely. So I would get like the thoughts from her, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm not involved.
Yeah, that was Cassie's fault that time. But no, but that part, I didn't mind the Negan part because, as Glenn said earlier, after they killed off the governor, they had kind of this lull period where it's like, we don't have any interesting villains on this show. And like, you had Shane previously, then you had the governor, and then you didn't have anyone until Negan came back. So it's like, what was you had to add somebody else to the mix to make it worthwhile. So I didn't mind them adding him on there. But at the point where I think it was like they finally beat Negan, and then instead of killing him, it's like, oh, we're just going to throw you in a makeshift jail for the rest of the season. And it's like, okay, well, then no one cares anymore. It's like, well, what are you guys doing? Go ahead, Rick. I mean, not Rob. I know Rob had something to say.
Oh, I wanted to say that I remember that Frank Darabont, the guy that directed The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, he was the original showrunner of The Walking Dead. And he got into a big lawsuit with AMC over being fired, and I don't know if it was over creative differences or whatever, but I would have liked to see him do the show. Now, my big criticism of television, of TV shows, is that they go on and on and on. They are sort of created to continue, to get as much content as you can out of the original idea. And it suffers over time because of this, but they want to make their money.
MCU.
And you know what kills me, Rob? Film is trying to be television. That's literally what modern film is, and it makes me sick. It makes me want to vomit.
No, and that's why I love movies, is because there's a beginning, middle, and end. It starts, there's momentum that carries over, and then it crescendos and it ends. So it has a conclusion. And a lot of TV, that's their biggest flaw in an artistic manner, is like, no matter how well it's shot or well intentioned it is, it's like it feels like you're just trying to squeeze all the juice out of this orange that just isn't as good as it was previously.
I think that the big problem with that format as well is that a lot of these shows, it's not like shows like The Wire or The Sopranos or like Breaking Bad. They get into this with the idea of, we need to do whatever we can to get picked up for another season. And then when they finally get picked up, it's like, okay, we're keeping this thing going, but we don't exactly know how this thing's going to end. And it's like, look, if you're going to do a show, you have to at least have an idea of how this is going to end before you get in there, or else you're just pissing in the wind for God knows how many seasons until you get to the finale, which no one's going to really care about. Let's jump in our good buddy Rick Aragon here. Rick, are you a fan of The Walking Dead? Have you watched any episodes of The Walking Dead?
No.
Not a single one?
No.
All right, then next topic.
I never cared. Like zombies. It was like, how are you going to keep zombies going for like 50 years? I never cared. I mean, I don't take away from people who enjoyed the show.
Mm-hmm.
I just never saw the point of the show. Never got the cult status. And then there was that talk show that was built around it, Talking Dead, with
your boy,
with the alleged abuser.
Yeah,
with the alleged Me Too
he is
abuser.
an abuser, okay? Because he abused me with his nonsense on Talking Dead.
Yeah. So, here's the thing with Chris Hardwick. It's like, look, do I believe that he abused that girl? No, because the record shows that girl's fucking nuts. But at the same time, right before he got ousted by his ex-girlfriend, he was also the guy on the show throwing other people who were getting Me Too'd under the bus until it happened to him. So it's one of those situations like, I feel bad for you, but this is why you don't jump on certain trains, because they're going to come back and bite you in the ass. So
yeah, that's my one takeaway from The Walking Dead, is that Chris Hardwick, especially when it came to the Doctor Who fans who objected to the Doctor being changed into a woman, he was the first one lecturing us about how sexist we were and how awful we were. And there he is, potentially doing something much worse than anything that I or other people who disagreed with him did. So I thought it was hypocrisy. But when it comes to Walking Dead, the show, I never understood the appeal of it. So I never saw an episode, maybe clips, but that's pretty much it. No, I never cared. I can't believe that the show went on as long as it did, though. And people who stuck with it to the very end, I'm puzzled as to why you would stay for, 30 years, however long that show lasted.
yeah. I mean, I'm the type of guy who, if I give up on the show and like it ends, I'll still go back and at least watch like the last episode to kind of get a good gauge of like what I missed. I did that recently with Agents of Shield. That was a show I stopped watching after season 3. And then I went back and watched the final episode, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. You guys are going like back in time, like the 50s and like the 80s and shit like that. It's like you could completely lost me. I have no idea where the show went, but I mean, maybe I'll go back and watch this season finale to see what happened here. But like I said, there's no real conclusion here. I mean, it's like a conclusion of this story, but they're already trying to pop up other stories on the back of that. So, final thoughts here, and I'll give you guys this question. Would you say that The Walking Dead is the Fast and Furious of television? Or do you think that that's going a little too far?
Well, there's no zombies in space flying into cars or anything, so
Not yet.
I don't know.
I mean, the one thing I guess I could appreciate about The Walking Dead, it's one of the shows on TV that's super gory as hell. And it's kind of rare when you see stuff like that on television. So I definitely appreciated that.
Mhm.
That's pretty much the only thing I can say that was consistent, at least for as long as I watched it.
Yeah. All I know is there was a lot of extras down here in Georgia who made a lot of money over the last 10, 15 years working on that show. So they'll have to find another meal ticket, I guess.
I did meet, I think, a couple of the vatos or the cholos or the Mexicans that made that were in an episode or two. They were actually quite funny, and so I always wondered why they never got a comedy show. But they were quite funny. They looked very thug-like, but they actually were hilarious when I interacted with them and when they spoke. So that was fun. I guess that was a highlight for me of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, like I said, the show went on way too long. It should have ended years ago when they were on top. And like I said, they lost 15 million viewers throughout the course of that show. How do some shows never even reach 15 million? How do you lose 15 million people in the course of a show?
The thing is, the show just over time got way too goofy. And it's like, I guess they defaulted to kind of feeling like a comic book. I mean, at one point they had the dude that has the fucking tiger. And it's just like, what the fuck is this? This is not like the show started being semi-grounded in a feeling of realism to whatever extent, a zombie apocalypse can be. And for them to end up defaulting to like a really goofy side, and especially honestly, I think when Abraham and what's his name came into play, like the redhead dude and
You're talking about the first guy that being killed.
Yeah, it's like once that like those characters came into play, I just had a hard time taking that shit seriously anymore.
Yeah. How do you feed a 700-pound cat in a zombie apocalypse? Like, how does that work out? To where he doesn't just eventually maul you and eat you out of hunger.
Maybe because of all the dead people running around, it just never had a lot to worry about.
And then the tiger got eaten by zombies because that's what 700
To be fair, a lot of really shitty cat food that I don't feed Ziggy is made out of rotten meat, old meat. So
well, maybe the Walking Dead wasn't the Fast and the Furious. It was more the MCU, where you have to keep the story going, and it's I guess turning out a profit. So you've got to keep pumping it, no matter how illogical or nonsensical or silly it gets. So you just keep going and going and going. So maybe it's less Fast and Furious, because the Fast and the Furious I always consider to be kind of junk food for film. Goofy, entertaining, never took it seriously, always accepted. I've liked every Fast and Furious film, even Tokyo Drift. As much as people dislike it, I really enjoyed Tokyo Drift. It wasn't until they literally shot it to space. Yes, I can.
No, you're not allowed to say that.
Yes,
you can't watch classic film and say, "Oh, I like Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift." You're just not allowed to. I'm sorry. There has to be a limit here.
I appreciate Seven Seal and Tokyo Drift. I could watch those back to back and find I'm a well-rounded, cultured man there, sir.
However you need to cope. However you need to cope.
Last week is ticking off Cassie, and this week it's ticking off Rod.
I do what I can. But Honestly, I've enjoyed them because they were mindless until they got to space, and the audience was laughing, and I kept wondering
Because
all
it was a
the logical.
joke. The series had gone on so long, people were making the joke that there's only two ways you can go: a crossover with the Transformers or go into space, and they chose space. That's why people were laughing.
Yeah, that was just the nadir of the whole experience, and that there's going to be what two more. It's kind of sad. Although the only redeeming quality that the future Fast and Furious movie would have is if you had Helen Mirren and Rita Moreno do a drag race, like a literal drag race.
Did you
That
really
would
say Rita Moreno?
Yes, I did. She's playing Dom's grandmother.
I
Oh,
hate
Yeah, they're
everything.
both
I
actually
hate
in the movie.
everything.
it's difficult. It's difficult to ignore the things that come out of Rita Moreno's own mouth, let alone you mention her.
Hey, do you know who else is going to
specifics
be
of
in it?
Fast and Furious?
You know who else is going to be in the new Fast and Furious movie? Brie Larson.
Good. That's where she belongs. Don't you get the like? I have watched fairly little Fast and Furious. I can't watch it for more than 5 minutes without vomiting into my own pants. Okay,
Yeah.
but like when it comes to this shit, don't you just get the feeling that all these motherfuckers in this movie are the most self-obsessed pricks on planet Earth? Like you can tell that these people feel themselves too much. So Brie Larson belongs on that set because she is like the queen of this bullshit.
Do you wanna
No,
hear
she's the
something-
queen of
something-
franchise killers.
Do you want to hear something funny? Is like I said, like, you know what? No, I'm never watching another Fast and Furious movie after the third one, thinking that
Tokyo
they would
Drift?
stop making them at a certain point.
Yeah.
They're at what are they at? 9, 10? Like
Like
what?
10 and 11 are coming up, and that's not counting the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff that they did
Yeah,
too.
Hobbs and Shaw was terrible.
10 was supposed to be the last one because that was, according to Vin Diesel, is like, we're going to stop at 10. It's like, you should have stopped when Paul Walker died.
Yeah. That would have been great, but they're still making too much money. You can't
Yeah.
stop there.
But then
Exactly.
bringing in Brie Larson, it's like, well, this franchise is basically dead already because
They brought in hold on. They brought in John Cena to be Vin Diesel's brother, who not only do they not look alike at all, but how in the fact that this thing's been going on for 20 years and Vin Diesel has never mentioned in any movie that he had a brother that nobody knew
Bruh.
about.
Listen, like
Yeah.
honestly, it's fine at this point. I've been watching Dragon Ball, the entire franchise, my entire life. In Dragon Ball Super, they introduced apparently that Bulma has a sister. So they do this whenever the fuck they feel like it, and I just want to fling myself off a roof every time they do.
It's
When did they say
illogical,
that
but
Bulma had a
as long
sister?
as well, no, I would just say it's illogical, but I've enjoyed it as good-natured romps until they go up into outer space. But think about it: the future Fast and Furious movie is going to have three best actress or supporting actress winners. They're going to have 3 Academy Award winners in that movie. So we gotta have Dame Helen Mirren and 91-year-old Rita Moreno drag race down the streets of LA. We need that. That is what will heal
No.
America.
I
Yes.
just want to jump in this point real quick. Spencer said that even Vin's wife in the movie didn't know. No, not just his wife. His sister didn't even know that they had a brother. Make that make sense.
I want to vomit.
It's of course they're making this up as they go along. Nothing about it is logical. I guess that's a weakness that I've enjoyed. It's a good-natured romp until they got into outer space. Stop being so harsh, people.
Go ahead.
No, I was just say it's perfect for basically most people in society. Most people can't even walk and chew fucking gum. So I mean, they obviously love this bullshit, and I'll never watch it. I'll never indulge. But hey, you do you at the end of the day, I guess.
I'm surprised at Rob. Rob refuses to watch a 4-hour Japanese samurai black and white.
Oh no, I've seen it. I've
But-
watched it.
But no, you don't appreciate its brilliance. But you won't see something that is goofy and silly and over the top. That's
it's
all
a waste
it is.
of
Look,
my time. That I
look,
know is going to be a waste
look,
of my time. Yes,
look,
I'm
Fast
choosing
and
other
Furious-
things
the Fast and the Furious
instead.
films. The Fast and Furious films are basically hot chicks, cool cars, fast action. That's it. That's all you're getting.
have to understand.
I've never been promised a deep Werner Herzog exploration
Okay.
into the dark recesses of his soul.
So
I don't want that. So I'll take it.
So Rick,
I-
one of
I-
my favorite novels of all time is American Psycho, which is incredibly critical of surface-based reality. And so things that are incredibly frivolous, like Fast and Furious, they're fine. If you like that, that's great. To me, it's sort of like anathema to my soul. It's sort of like everything about it I hate. And so the fact that on top of that they're bad movies, like they're not good.
I recognize that they're bad. That's the thing. I recognize that they're bad.
Yeah.
I don't pretend that they're good. I don't pretend that these deserve a Criterion, unlike Wakanda Forever or Bros. These are just, like I said, junk food films. I accept that. I don't expect much. It's just a romp, a good-natured romp that I don't.
Just real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and blame Neo for causing this whole situation. Because we started off talking about Walking Dead, and now we're talking about Fast and Furious. So Neo, you're getting a 5-minute timeout in the chat just out of principle.
Rick,
Keep going.
You have to understand, though, one of my favorite guilty pleasures is watching 70s disaster flicks. They're some of my all-time most fun go-to flicks. The difference between 70s disaster flicks and these bullshit-ass movies that you somehow find fun in watching is that most of the people that star in these 70s disaster flicks, they're not insufferable as fuck to the audience. I actually enjoy indulging in the talents of the past who, they might have had their little things about them, but overall, they earned the respect and likability of the audience. Whereas with these motherfuckers in Fast and Furious movies, they are insufferable pieces of shit. I cannot stand to sit through garbage film and deal with these people.
They're not insufferable. They're not insufferable, Cassie. They're family. They're family. So,
I don't understand how this series. I can't understand how anyone can watch like Too Fast, Too Furious and think to themselves that in 15 years these guys are going to be in Russia trying to stop a nuke from going off and blowing up half the planet.
It's supposed to be cartoonish and over the top. This is what I accept for it, and I will say that Too Fast, Too Furious is one of the best titles for a sequel that I've ever heard.
Okay,
I watched the first one, but I've never watched any of the other ones, so this is just kind of amusing to me. I know they get incredibly ridiculous, and that the last Fast and the Furious one was shot here in Atlanta. Still some, so I actually know some people that worked on it, and yeah, it's some of the scenes and stuff are just ridiculous.
Locked Neo for 5 minutes.
There will be studies done in the future. That watching these movies make you stupid,
if that's
IQ
true, then
points for having.
I will match my
master's
degree. I will match my master's degree up against that hypothesis. There, sir.
No, just because you got a master's doesn't mean you're smart.
Yeah, it doesn't mean shit. You just sound like one of those.
It means that I can appreciate both Bergman and Diesel.
I like Billy Madison and Austin Powers. I like a lot of dumb fucking movies.
But that's the thing. I know that they're dumb. I know that they're dumb. That's what I don't understand. Why you all are so up in arms about
dumb
this.
movies are thoughtfully stupid, whereas
they're
Fast
just,
and Furious is just trying
they
to
are
capitalize
mindless.
on
They're
on
mindless. I just enjoy them. I had them wash over me.
All right, like we need to move on
the
here.
movies, like Scorsese's comment about how movies are like roller coasters and stuff, and I think it's just funny that it's like he said that the year that they like had to shoot a car into space to stop just going.
We have to move on here. We'll argue about this all day. So, like I said, Neo's timed out for 5 minutes because he needs to go in the corner and think about what he did. So, we're gonna move on to our next topic here, which is women being pissed off that they can't buy Taylor Swift tickets, and now apparently the government has gotten involved. This is how bad and how dumb this whole situation has gotten here. So, let me kind of rewind this for you guys in case you have no idea what's going on here. About a week ago, Taylor Swift did a pre-sale for her latest stadium tour that everyone's all excited about, right? So they sent out a pre-sale that was through Ticketmaster, and apparently the demand for this concert was so over the top that Ticketmaster site crashed. And because the site crashed and some people weren't able to buy tickets, they went and complained and whined and bitched and moaned and threw Ticketmaster under the bus, blaming them for the debacle. There was even people saying that, oh, I tried to get tickets and they were like $27,000. So it's like, well, there were resale tickets. So people will buy tickets. This is what they call the secondary market. People will buy tickets and then put them back on the site for a resale. And those tickets are way higher than the actual value. That's been going on for years. That's why you have things like StubHub and SeatGeek and things of that nature. So people were upset that the normal tickets were already sold out by the time they got there, and the only thing they had available was resale for like 27 grand. And let's be honest, some of you guys are so psychotic. I'm pretty sure you would be willing to spend 27 grand for a fucking Taylor Swift concert. But now these people are so angry and so upset that they were robbed of an opportunity to go see a Taylor Swift concert, that Congress is getting involved in this situation now. And there's talks about possible hearings for Ticketmaster because a bunch of white women weren't able to get Taylor Swift tickets. I wish this was a joke, but it's not. The U.S. Senate Antitrust Panel will hold a hearing on the lack of competition in the ticketing industry after Ticketmaster's problems last week managing the sale of Taylor Swift's tickets. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is the head of the panel, said on Tuesday. Also, Mike Lee from Utah are also on this committee. They didn't provide a date on when this hearing is going to go down, but they said here that high fees, site disruptions, and cancellations that customers experience on how Ticketmaster's dominant market position means that the company does not face any pressure to continually innovate and improve, Klobuchar said. Keep in mind, there's talks right now, which I don't believe, but there's talks right now that Apple is going to buy Disney in the next couple of years. Yet these people are having hearings about antitrust over Ticketmaster. It said, we will be holding a hearing on how consolidation in the live entertainment and ticket industry harms customers and artists alike. Ticketmaster in the statement denied any anti-competitive practices, say that it remained under the consent decree with the Justice Department following the 2010 merger, adding that there's no evidence of systemic violations of that decree. Ticketmaster has a significant share of public primary services markets because of its large gap that exists between the quality of Ticketmaster systems and the next best primary ticketing system. So they're saying that, hey, look, people use us because we're better than everybody else. I want to also point this out, too, that we have a guy, if you haven't followed this story, with FTX, who pretty much ran like a Ponzi scheme that he ran for like 3 years and stole like was it $16 billion that he went to go buy a bunch of property in the Bahamas for right now. No one's talking about that story. I'm not even sure if he's even being brought up on charges with the SEC, even though it's 1,000% fraud. But now the government's getting involved because women couldn't buy tickets for fucking Taylor Swift. Are you serious? I don't know who wants to take this one, but someone make this make sense.
I mean, look, I have experience with Ticketmaster because I look for NFL tickets every year, and they do have exorbitant fees. However, the secondary market is the secondary market. Like, that's just people taking advantage of, kind of like the opportunity or the, I don't know if it's a loophole, but it's just what people are willing to pay. And so I don't know, to me that kind of will always exist regardless if it's Ticketmaster or somebody else. But yeah, no, I whatever. I spent $600 to have good seats at an NFL game, but that's for 2 tickets. So it's like, I don't know, that to me that's somewhat reasonable, but thousands of dollars to see Taylor Swift, who cares? Like I said this the other day, if you gave me Taylor Swift tickets, I still wouldn't go. I don't care. It's a female pop star. So, but once again, the what is it? The 18 to 30 demographic of women rules the economic market.
We already know that she's not just a pop star. And I want to say something, but I'm not going to because Cassie's going to just rush down from Pennsylvania. Yeah, well, I thought you were going to just come down to Texas and just crush my head. I'll say this
That's
much.
the size of your brain, sir.
Just because I can't appreciate Taylor Swift and the genius that is Taylor Swift, I'll put it this way. There are more important things to worry about and to investigate. And it's going to be fun seeing all of these senators question all of these very upset fans who are going to be up on the Senate panel crying over how they failed to get Taylor Swift tickets. This is not an important matter, especially now when we're going to have one senator who is probably not even sure who Taylor Swift is. Well, probably a lot of them don't know who Taylor Swift is, and one of them might just say, "Hi, good night, everyone," and just end the session there. So why are they wasting time with this? This is so unimportant. If people want to see Taylor Swift, I mean, just go watch Amsterdam, and there you have her. I mean, for a few minutes,
Getting hit by a car.
getting hit by a car.
Oh, maybe I'll watch that then.
Right.
That's actually kind of tough.
No, the movie's terrible. But
Yeah, just literally walk out of the movie right as she gets hit by a car. Just do that.
Oh,
But
just
then they would
kidding.
think it was in support of Taylor Swift, and nobody really, like, any sane person doesn't want to support that bitch.
Well, weren't
Oh.
there people who were applauding when she got run over? I think in some.
I did.
Oh,
Yeah, that was Rob.
Yeah, I was there.
but
I
this
did
is
that.
this is
Oh,
a
we heard him all
waste
the way
of
from California.
this is a waste
Oregon.
of time for the Senate to be bothering with this. There are more important things for them to tackle. I don't know what Klobuchar really wants to do with this. I mean, she's not going to be president or vice president. Who cares? Honestly, people are willing to spend more than my annual salary to spend a couple of hours seeing someone who is not going to stand the test of time. I don't believe she is. Then that's their own foolishness. This is not time. This is not something to take up time in investigating.
See,
Why are
I
they doing
actually want to disagree with you right there. I think this is the perfect topic for Congress to take care of. They need to have multiple meetings about Taylor Swift and her concert ticket sales so they stop passing all these stupid laws. So
Yeah, right. Use
so this is actually brilliant. Thank you,
resources.
thank you, God, for Taylor Swift and Ticketmaster problems. So
Honestly, I just don't seem to care about this situation. I will say though, it's liberal white women that are a stain on all of society, and they're all secretly racist, and them buying tickets to support Taylor Swift is their way of trying to ignore the reality that K-pop has eclipsed American pop entirely.
God, here we go.
It's better in every way, shape, or form. And this is their retaliation to try and ignore that reality. So, yeah, fuck you,
No.
racist, liberal white women. You are a stain on all of society.
No,
Well, you also have-
there's no way I'm going to be convinced that K-pop is as big as it is. All of them. I mean, I know my niece went to see one of them, but I generally could not tell. She's even learned Korean to try to follow along.
Exactly. My point
But-
exactly.
But
Okay.
yeah, but she's a child. She's a child, and we can forgive that.
Right.
Listen,
There is no shame
what-
in what she did.
apart
okay?
apart from Gangnam Style, who's going to remember anything that these musicians do? All right, it's like who?
I mean, but like realistically, who's gonna remember what the fuck Taylor Swift did? She's a meme at best. She makes all her music's based off of the last dude that she fucked, and she's fucked a whole lot of them. Like that's all.
Are you saying that she goes on too many dates, but she can't make them
Yes.
stay?
Yes.
I think Cassie's more like
Liberal white
saying
women.
that Taylor Swift is like the equivalent of The Walking Dead on some level. Like,
With
she's
her
just got to
body
reboot
count, yeah.
and retool
Like-
herself and her relationships for fodder, and she's got to, recut open all those wounds and dissect them for the sake of money and the audience. I actually feel really bad for her, to be honest. I mean, like as a writer, at least, like I can kind of get my, all my angst out on the page, and then it's done and over with the books when it's published. I don't have to go around and perform them for live people and be like, "Hey, let me sing this song that I wrote while I was dating X guy here, and I broke his heart, or I shattered his ego, or he
Or
crushed
she
me."
broke, or he
Yeah.
broke her heart, or he broke
Yeah.
her
But
heart.
the term "basic bitch" comes to mind. The kind of person that loves Taylor Swift, and she represents everything I'm about. And it's like You mean she's just constantly complaining that she had her heart broken because there's some fault in a relationship or whatever? I mean, it was all over. Like, I love that meme about like Taylor Swift. Like, I want when I fall in love it to be a really like a big meaningful thing. And you just see the Google search of Taylor Swift and all of the people she's like been rumored to be dating or had been with or whatever, and it's just like you're completely full of shit. But you have this huge fan base that loves you to death because why? You're honest about your failure. Like, what is your brand? Your whole brand is I suck at being with people, and no one chooses to.
It's all the other people's fault.
Yeah, I am curious. I mean, I've never met a Swiftie, but I'm curious as to what they actually think is so appealing about her and her music to make them spend what $27,000 for one ticket to see her for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially, they could wait until the Oscars when she's going to win for original song or live action short film. They don't have to go through all of this. Just wait outside her house or whatever. I mean, it's pointless. This whole thing. I'm puzzled by all of this, but she's a legend.
Let me address a couple of points here. First of all, our guy, don't even bother with that comment. First of all, our guy here says that the tickets were $27,000 a piece. No, here's what happened. The people who were able to get in and buy the tickets when the site was having issues, they bought the tickets and then immediately flipped them to the real resale value. So when they went to buy those tickets on resale, some of them were as high up as $27,000. So that's what the person who had bought them and then put it back on the market, on the secondary market, had put it on. So it wasn't like Ticketmaster was asking for 27 grand. Like, they were asking for pretty much the normal price. So people bought them and tried to flip them for $1 because they knew obviously there was people who were willing to pay that much. And hey, if you're willing to get 27,000 out of the Taylor Swift fan, I mean, I can't be mad at you. And
I mean, that's basically how student loans work. So.
Mm-hmm. So then the other part is that Spencer is obviously not very happy with us right now because he thinks that we're focusing too much on the Taylor Swift aspect of this rather than the Ticketmaster part of this. Here's the problem, is that Taylor Swift is the catalyst for why this whole thing is happening to begin with. It's not like something changed in the way that Ticketmaster handled its business in the course of the last week before this happened. What happened here is that a bunch of Taylor Swift fans wanted to buy tickets on a pre-sale for the event. The demand was so high, the site crashed and they weren't able to get it. So they blamed Ticketmaster for the fact that they weren't able to purchase these tickets, and now they're questioning monopoly laws. Why do I only have to get my tickets from Ticketmaster? Why can't I go somewhere else to get it? The problem is that, as Ticketmaster said in their statement, is that okay, you could split it to where, okay, let's say you have a stadium of 30,000 people, just say for the sake of the argument, right? You can get 15,000 of those tickets to Ticketmaster and give another 15,000 to the second number 2 competitor, right? The reason why people go to Ticketmaster is because they have name value and they've been trusted for many, many years. And that's why people prefer to go to that site versus, I think the second biggest one I can think of off the top of my head will be Access, which Access doesn't have, I think they don't have as much of a biggest list for like certain events that Ticketmaster does. I know like the UFC and a lot of other sports events generally go with Ticketmaster unless they're working with a company directly owned by somebody who's working with Access, which is ADX if you're going to buy tickets from there. So the real focus on this story is the reason why we're focused on the Taylor Swift fans here is because it's their butthurt that's causing all this right now. If they wanted to make a point about how Ticketmaster's business practices was before this, and I'm pretty sure a couple people have, then fine, we can have that argument. But this really just comes down to the fact that people were unable to buy tickets at the timely manner that they wanted to. And then I think they're conflating a lot of their issues with the secondary market based on Ticketmaster sales. If you remember, I talked about this maybe about a month ago. There was a guy on our who might know as Wrestle Cringe. Cassie, I think you might remember this story. There was a guy who spent like about, I think he said about 3 G's on a couple of tickets for like an MSG show for WWE. Now, he really did this. I'm not even making this up. And he did this because, when you go to the site, you'll have like the way that it works. You go to the blue dot, that's like your standard tickets, your standard ticket prices. And then you have like your resale, which is the ones that are usually in pink or magenta. He bought the resale, and the resale was marked up way higher because it was Saturday night in MSG. So he probably spent about at least 10 times more on 2 pairs of tickets that he would have purchased if he had just bought them straight up. But people are like, they don't know how the ticket system actually works. They conflate the resale on the secondary market and blame the primary provider when Ticketmaster isn't in charge of what people will pay after they spend tickets on whatever event that it is.
Well, this is a case of people wanting the government to basically fix their problem. And it's not a problem that, from what I understand, that Ticketmaster created. So they're going to they're turning into they're Karens. These women are Karens. I want to speak to the manager, and the manager is the government. And the manager government is going to fix all their problems because they're upset that their generation's Ella Fitzgerald, George Gershwin, is unavailable to them. Had to throw it in there just once.
As I said to you last night, Rick, the only reason you're on this show because Sarah will not return my phone calls. So I just want you to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Sarah. Wherever
I
you
just
are.
think it's very ironic that it's like, you hear the stories of the last 10, 15 years, how there's more women graduating college and in professional fields, and they're doing great and having these great salaries, and they don't need men. And then they go to buy something and they can't fix the problem themselves.
Fuck it up.
And it's like, there's no. I just think it's funny because it's like, whatever, you could have men who want to see Taylor Swift too. The whole point is like the narrative, right? The narrative of like, I can do anything, and then you run into this government fix my problem for me. I can't fix this, and it's like it's just a funny.
And another thing that people forget too, and I know this because AEG, excuse me, which is the it's like Auschwitz company. They own a lot of the arenas that run a lot of these shows. I believe they own Staples Center, they own Barclays, they own like a bunch of arenas all around the world. They have their own deal because since they're the managers of the arena, they choose for what businesses they do, what ticket providers they do business with. So the majority of the ones that are owned for AEG will do business with Axis, which is the one that I mentioned earlier. A lot of these other ones, I think the second biggest arena owner is SMG, if I'm not mistaken. It's either SMG or AMS Global. It's one of those two. They're the one that generally handles with Ticketmaster. So a lot of these arenas have deals specifically with these providers that they'll handle all the ticket situations for their events, whether it's hockey, basketball, concerts, and things of that nature as well.
There's a very simple fix for this, guys. Stop giving money to these socialists. They don't believe in consumerism the way it is. Why do you continue to give them their money?
I mean, I'll say this, just kind of the last point here, and this is just a general thing that I've noticed, is that for so many years, people defended Taylor Swift because the media went after her because, she wouldn't say anything about Trump. This was like a story for like a number of years. She wouldn't say anything bad about Trump, so people just assumed that she was a Trump supporter, right? And then I remember, I think it was like 2018, I want to say right before like the midterms a few years ago, she ended her last stadium tour, and then at the last date of her stadium tour, went on a complete like political diatribe and then supported like the Democrats. Keep in mind that most of the people who were defending her at this point were Republican because they were under the assumption that they were on her side too. So it's like, and I know a lot of these people, I know a few of them, I'm not just talking about Spencer, I'm talking about in general. I know a lot of people who are big fans of Taylor Swift who knew this, but are still willing to shell out money for her anyway. So I just kind of like shrug. It's like, I mean, I feel bad for you, I guess, but I mean, you have to understand who you're dealing with here too. So I feel bad, but I also don't feel bad at the same time there. So
I think she's a very talented singer, and she's done a very good job of like managing her career and her image and stuff. And I mean, like she was famous. She had like a Walmart brand when I started going to college because I remember just seeing her face everywhere at Walmart. When I was going to college, for groceries and stuff. But I mean, like. So over the years, I can kind of understand that she doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have kids. She's just kind of stuck in perpetual, like popular, young, youthful kind of territory. And she doesn't want to leave it. And there's nothing else really there at the moment. So, I mean, you kind of have to, at that point, if you want to stay relevant and in the good graces of the media, you have to kind of take a side in the political debate. And I get it. I just, as far as Ticketmaster goes, like, kudos to her for at least siding with her fans. I saw that Bruce Springsteen had similar issues a couple months ago, and he didn't. Like, it was just like, yeah, those prices are high. oh well.
I mean, it sounds like to me that Ticketmaster either had an infrastructure issue where they couldn't handle the sheer volume of people who they were expecting to come and buy on this pre-sale. Like they sent out like codes for like a pre-sale, and then they got such a high demand that when people went to go click on the site to get their tickets, the site just crashed and it wouldn't come back up because so many people were going there at the same time. That seems like a system issue. Like they clearly weren't ready for the demand that there was going to come to and for this Taylor Swift concert. So it's like, yeah, maybe if you guys fix the infrastructure of your company so that way you can handle high volumes of customers when they do that, because I know Comic-Con had an issue with that for years. They may still have an issue with that where they were giving away essentially a lottery system because so many people wanted to buy tickets for Comic-Con. If they just let people purchase it, it'll be sold out in like 5 minutes, and they couldn't handle the high volume. So they had people go through like an online waiting line in order just to have an opportunity to buy tickets, which tells me that you guys need to update your system and maybe deal with the fact that you have a much higher consumer base than you do. So if that's one thing I criticize for them, they definitely need to fix that. Because I mean, if one concert essentially crashes your entire fucking system, that probably wasn't worth shit to begin with. So.
I mean,
Well, it's the same thing with the Halo servers too, in the case of Microsoft. And there's no excuse for them to have crap servers because it's freaking Microsoft. But that's what I'm surprised Ticketmaster hasn't upgraded their servers. They should be on like top of the line servers by now, considering all the type of concerts they have.
Look, the fact that Ticketmaster couldn't deal with this situation, I mean, look, they're getting the backlash. We're talking about it. I haven't been on Ticketmaster since I was 16 years old when I went to get tickets to see Diana Ross at Radio City. Like, that's the last. I'm talking about Ticketmaster today. I will say scalping is an issue across every form of entertainment there is. People today still can't walk into a Walmart or a GameStop to buy a PS5 because of this issue with scalping. And PS5 and as well as the Xbox have been out, Series X have been out for 2 years now, and it's still issues like this scalping issue is.
But at the same time, they promote scalping because that's what sites like I said, StubHub and SeatGeek are. They are scalping websites. It's people who bought tickets who either can't make the event or they just want to try to sell it for a resale. So if you buy a pair of tickets for $40 and try to sell it for $100, that's how those sites stay in business. That's the way they operate.
I know that when I went to see the Houston Dynamo. I had to buy through SeatGeek. They didn't give me another option. That was their only site. So I took it as not a secondary site, but that's the only place where I could buy a ticket. So I don't know about that. All I know is that if the system was overwhelmed, it is something that they should look into. I don't think it's something that the Congress has to investigate if it's a system issue. And really, Taylor Swift might have figured that there was going to be a high demand. She could add more shows. She could add more sites. She could even probably do a residency in Las Vegas and play there for years. It would maybe resolve some of the issues that she has.
Look, I know that this is a tough pill to swallow in regards to scalping, but I refuse to buy a PS5 from a scalper. It's gonna hurt to tell you this, but if you don't like these websites that promote scalping, do not engage in their service. And it hurts because you miss out, but sacrifice is a sacrifice. If you believe in something, you got to hold true to your values. I refuse to engage in scalping of any kind. I do not do it. I hate the concept. I hate the concept of paying for something, especially when it comes to consoles, and that's the thing I can relate to specifically in recent years. I refuse to engage these fucking assholes on eBay that buy like fucking 30 PS5 boxes and are selling them for double the price. They can kiss my ass. I refuse.
I'm always more worried about scams on eBay than just the general scalping.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like for me, instead of paying a scalper for an Xbox Series S, guess what? I took my ass to Best Buy at 4 a.m, waited in a torrential downpour with my chair and my fucking umbrella, and I waited till like 10 a.m. just in hopes of getting an Xbox, and guess what? I got one. That's how much I refuse to engage with these scalping bastards. Fuck them.
It's too much to ask a Swiftie to make that kind of sacrifice.
Well, look, that's what you get when you deal with liberal white women.
You mean the people that get the daily $8 Starbucks drinks with all the additions and shit in it? Like, I mean, I'm sorry, and I hate to put like every Taylor Swift fan in that box because I know that's not true, but yeah, I mean, come on, this is who we're talking about.
Our good buddy Trap Queen works at a coffee shop. I think she works at Starbucks, and you should just hear the stories that she tells about customers who come in just ask for this absolutely insane shit. It's like you realize you're just ordering a cup of diabetes at this point, right? You're not even ordering coffee anymore.
And then see, I get trash for asking for the pumpkin spice latte.
If I may
shit.
give my
I am not
opinion in
ashamed.
this whole situation,
Go ahead.
I like my frappuccinos. I ask them to put ground up espresso beans in them when I'm really tired.
Part of
It's
the problem.
No, that's fine. That's a normal drink that they serve, that they offer, not like a meal. Again, half a dozen additions or half a dozen. You know,
No,
it's
no,
so
that's not my
ridiculous.
full
You see
order.
some of these drink orders.
Sorry, Orange Hat.
Yeah, you guys went so far off the plot, my cat came and just laid on my chest and fell asleep.
I'm not gonna lie. I
One.
forgot you
Well,
were
I
here.
mean, like if you're talking about Taylor Swift, I think at least some point you talk about like women ordering coffee and.
Go ahead, Orange Hat.
one, scalping is as old as freaking dirt when it comes to ticket sales and whatnot. I mean, people have always been scalping, and I don't support it at all because, I mean, I support it as a capitalist practice. I mean, people have got, or it's a good way to make a quick buck. I do not support the fact that it is used, or rather, it's an abused practice because people can take a $5,000 ticket and freaking price it up to like 4 times the amount. I believe that is absolutely stupid. But sadly, there are dumbasses out there that will freaking fall for that shit because they're so desperate. They're simps. They're freaking.
Well, then
I
that's
don't know what the word is. But also, as pertaining to Taylor Swift, I wish she would get the CSI Justin Bieber treatment, where she is a villain in CSI, in any CSI show that is currently out there, and they just gun her ass down. It would just, I mean, that would just make my day because I cannot stand her fucking music. Her music is, or every time I hear her music, I automatically turn the radio off. Folks, the impulse when I ever hear her music, I'm Robert Shaw in Jaws. Let's just put it that way. I'm coming in with a baseball bat and bashing the fuck out of that radio because the person didn't turn off Taylor Swift quick enough.
well. Here's
What? If Taylor Swift cares, tell her, and she actually appreciates her fans. Do a free concert.
Oh, if she's dumb enough to do that, by all means she should, because hey, she's the one that buckled under pressure from all these freaking dumbasses saying, you got to give your political opinion. You got to do this. You got to
Do
all she should have said is,
no.
I don't want to get into that. I want to entertain.
Like here's the problem, and like you said, mentioned it before. Is it fair that people will buy like I say a $500 ticket and turn around and try to flip it for $27,000? No, it's absolutely absurd.
No.
But the reason why they do that is because they expect that someone's going to be desperate enough that they're going to buy it. And if someone does buy it, who's the fault on that? On the fact that you bought a overpriced, marked up ticket for Taylor Swift because you're just that desperate for her attention for 3 hours.
Foolish? The fool
And
or the fool?
here's the other thing. If the person can't sell that ticket for $27,000, what is he going to have to do? He's either going to have to lower the price on it, or he's going to have to eat the cost of what he put in. That's what we tried to. The way we try to fix how the market works is by, if there's not a demand for a $27,000 Taylor Swift ticket and no one's going to buy it, guess what? You're going to have to lower your cost to something far more reasonable that someone's going to have to buy. Like I said. Maybe that's just me because I've been I've been a StubHub guy for so many years, and now all these other sites have come up and fucking ruined everything. But
So Jacob, how much money did you spend to see Michael Bublé?
Oh, I didn't. I wiped my ass with whatever it was. Whatever they were offering, it was too much. Just put it that way.
Oh my.
I mean, the way I see it, if they really want to cut down on scalping, make it a registration or create a registration for it and regulate it. Otherwise, don't bitch about it.
I think some sites do that because I know, like with like suites and stuff like that. Like if you buy tickets, it's assigned specifically to the suite, so you would have to like hand it off to like an official channel. But if it's just like a general like a mission type ticket thing, it's much harder to do that. I mean, you could try to create a system like that, but I don't think it'd be very successful because there's a lot of hoops you have to go through to do that.
Orange said regulation, libertarian, and me just vomited.
I know.
I kept thinking.
Well, to be fair, he's talking about regulation within the site, not through the federal government, like what we're talking about here.
I get it. that word triggers me.
Yeah. All right,
unleash your anger.
Buy a fucking $27,000 ticket. Like, don't. Here's the thing. All of this is legal for a reason. Don't be a moron. It's just like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like you didn't get there in time. It sucks. Too bad. That's life. I mean, like, I grew up with a series of disappointments like that. It's like, okay, it's fine. You're not entitled to see Taylor Swift. Holy shit, get over yourself.
My question is, what is the end game for government intervention in this situation? Because I was a little bit confused on that.
To guarantee everyone a day.
Now, there is a conspiracy theory out there that they're targeting Ticketmaster because Ticketmaster is known to give political donations to, let's just say, the wrong party. So there may be a little added incentive for them to step in on Ticketmaster. I'm saying that's only conspiracy theory because I don't know who the fuck Ticketmaster gives money to. It's like, why would I even care that much to look it up? I'm just saying that has been floating out there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is also some political endgame that they're trying to work around here with Taylor Swift. But let's talk about some other political endgames now. Let's move over to our other evil corporation that nobody likes, Disney. Because Disney decided that they were going to kick out their old CEO and bring back the new CEO. Although they kicked out the new CEO and brought back the old CEO. So Bob Iger is back, and he's back in control, and Bob Chapek is out of the picture now. And there's a lot of hot takes about this story, and I think people kind of understand exactly what's happening here. So let's just kind of wind back and explain it here. So 2 years ago, Bob Chapek became the CEO of Disney. Iger stepped down a couple years back, and then he actually appointed Chapek, by the way, too. That plays into the story as well. So if you go back to earlier in the year, about March, we have the whole snafu with Disney going to war with Rob DeSantis in the state of Florida over the parental rights bill, because the parental rights bill said that you can't teach LGBTQ ideology to people between kindergarten and third grade, right? And that obviously infuriated the people at Disney. They were demanding boycotts. They were demanding that the company take their side. Chapek said that, look, we're a company. We're not going to take any political sides. We're not going to allow this issue to be a political football for us. We're just going to take a neutral side. We're not going to take one side or another. And this absolutely infuriated everyone. Bob Iger made a statement against him saying that, he should have spoke out, that this was a mistake. His own employees, who are uber progressives, decided to do a boycott against him. There was word that, Iger's people who are still with the company were undermining Chapek due to this whole thing. So it became a big political situation behind the scenes at Disney. But the board said that, hey, look, we're going to stick with this guy for another 3 years because, he led us through a tough time during the pandemic. So it made it seem like, okay, we're going to stick with this guy despite all the anger. Well, about 3 months after that, this happens. And it comes off the heels of Disney's fourth quarter outlook is not looking very good. It looks like it's going to be much worse than expected. They're losing subscribers in major countries at the moment. There's the whole thing about the MCU films are not performing as well as they should have performed. You talked about Thor: Love and Thunder. They needed to make $700 million to break even. They made $750. They wanted to make way more than that to make a sustainable profit. I think the Wakanda Forever film right now is about $550 million as of this day right here. That movie's going to have to make at least $750 to $800 million to break even. There was a story floating around that Avatar 2 has to make $2 billion just to make a profit. I don't think it's nearly that much, but I do think that movie's going to have to make a massive amount of money for there to be an Avatar 3 and 4. Let's just put it that way. So people were having questions about the direction of Disney because let's be honest, Marvel is not doing as well as they intended. Star Wars is really in the mud right now. I mean, they're not even making Star Wars movies anymore. All their stuff is going straight to Disney Plus, which is not the plan that they wanted, especially when they paid $4 billion for it in the first place. So they know that investors are starting to get a side eye with Disney right now. So they bringing back the old guard and hoping to calm everyone's fears. So Chapek is back. They made this announcement like at the dead of night. It was like Sunday night, which is not normally when you make corporate announcements like this. So this had to have been sudden for this to happen. But Iger's in. Chapek is gone. He's fired from his position. He's gone from the company. Like I said, Iger, who spent 4 decades with the company, 15 years as a CEO. He was the CEO back in like 2005. He's the guy who pretty much started all this. So I know a lot of people were saying that, oh, does this go broke because Chapek is gone? Like, no, it's not, because Iger is the one who started this whole thing in the first place. So keep that in mind. If you're expecting Disney to start turning the ship around creatively, it ain't gonna happen. At least not with this guy in charge. Susan Arnold made a statement, said, "We thank Bob Chapek for his service for his long Disney career, including navigating the company through unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. The board has concluded that Disney embarks an increasingly complex period during industry transformation. Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead that company through a pivotal period. Iger has the deep respect for Disney's senior leadership team. Most of them he's worked closely with until his departure 11 months ago as executive chairman. He is greatly admired by Disney employees worldwide. This would be a seamless transaction." So a lot of people are saying that they're doing this to kind of save face with their stockholders because they know that the stockholders want to see something significant happen, and the only way they can at least pretend like they're doing something significant is bringing the old guy back. So she goes on to make, I think Iger went on to make a statement, essentially say what's going on. Here's the thing: what's happening with Disney. Their stock is down about 40% from where it was a year ago. Their Browns are not as strong. They obviously angered a lot of people with the whole Florida thing and the whole push on the LGBTQ that they've been doing over the last few months. Lightyear bombed as a result of that. They lost well over $100 million on that film alone. They have another LGBTQ kids film coming up, I think this weekend, which I don't know how much they spend on the budget on that. I haven't looked it up yet, but if it's like any other Pixar movie in that realm, it's probably a lot of money, so they might not get that money back on there. They know that they need to do something to turn this ship around because it's not looking good. Now, of course, they're never going to admit that, hey, some of the decisions that we've made are just been bad decisions because, you just don't do that when you're a corporation. You just make it seem like, hey, we're going to keep growing and everything's going to get better. What is kind of your thoughts on this whole change in leadership with Disney? Do you think that things are going to get significantly worse? Do you think they'll get better? Or do you think they'll just stay exactly the same for where they are now? Cassie, I'll start with you here. What is kind of your thoughts on this story?
Disney seems to conduct itself in a way that seems like, well, if we fuck up so bad, we'll get a government bailout. No worries. That's what it seems like to me with how they've run this company the past few years. And who's to say that the government wouldn't give them a bailout? The government would be quick to say, if we let Disney sink, well, then all the other companies it'll become a huge monopoly in the industry. So let's just bail them out. I feel as though that they would actually have the gall to make that fucking argument. And look, I guess maybe that's a little far-fetched, but I don't put anything past these motherfuckers. I really don't. These people are ignorant enough to actually believe that we support teaching children about sex, and it's absolutely weird. These people are weirdos and they're mentally deranged. So for them to actually think that that's even remotely acceptable, it wouldn't be a far-fetched for me to believe that the government, they think that the government would probably bail them out, and given how atrocious our government runs, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that as well. I don't think it's going to get any better, honestly.
I'm not sure that the government would bail them out, given how at least the Florida government pulled their de facto monarchy out from under them after needlessly picking a fight.
The feds are different.
Yeah, but I mean, if one government was able to take them on, who's to say that they won't be as the federal government won't be inspired as that? I mean, I don't know who's to say.
Well, also keep in mind,
what has the feds learned since 2008, bro? bailing out the banks, bailing out the mobile industry. They haven't learned any fucking thing.
And keep
Well,
in
but I
mind,
mean,
there's a lot of people in both the Obama and the Biden administration who are currently and recently been hired to the Disney executive branch as well. So if you're wondering why would the government bail out Disney, they got a lot of friends working in that company. So don't be surprised if they were to do that.
well, maybe, especially if it saves just one life, I'm sure they'll do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
If it saves our Shanghai Disneyland, then we'll totally do it.
oh,
Well, you
yeah.
have to realize too, like bread and circuses is an ancient quote. It's like, and it's part of the deal. If people are entertained with their cash cow Walking Dead and their Ticketmaster monopolies, and I mean they're just distracted, you can't actually really focus and organize against your government. So I can easily see that. See, my big conspiracy theory is that Kathleen Kennedy is rumored to be getting fired next year for her terrible, terrible, terrible work with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so she called up Iger and she's like, look, I got the blackmail material. And if you don't get back here and save me from this, I will take you down.
And like I said, they still have not. Here's the thing: not only have they refused to admit that The Last Jedi was a mistake, they have gone the last few years essentially gaslighting everyone into thinking that was the greatest movie that ever existed, and anyone who said otherwise is just sexist, right? Like we were not the problem in that scenario. That film killed Star Wars because.
Yes, it did.
Not like I said, they spent $4 billion on this. Their idea was they were going to have a Star Wars movie, maybe 2 Star Wars movies in theaters every year, right? Now, because they burned their bridge with the audience, everything that they've put out on Star Wars related has now been on Disney Plus. They did not spend $4 billion on a property just so they can make little TV shows for their streaming service. But they will not admit that the person who's in charge of there has fucked everything up.
Well, that issue started actually with Solo. They expected it to be a massive hit, and they expected it to be beloved, and they were already planning more origin films. That one film pretty much killed the idea of releasing specific stories that were not related to the already established series.
Because what did that film follow? What film did they have to fall off from that? The Last Jedi.
No, and I mean, it also pretty much killed Alden Ehrenreich's career.
Yeah.
I mean, he might make a comeback. Who knows? As for Bob Iger, I mean, I really don't see a change. It's like a reverse of the Who. Meet the old boss, same as the new boss, or meet the new boss, same as the old boss. I mean, it's going to be much the same. It might double down. Jacob, I think you do have a point, because they didn't want to admit that not only was The Last Jedi a mistake, they didn't want to admit that they botched Lightyear, they botched all the Phase 4 Marvel films.
Yep.
They've been watching even the TV shows for Star Wars.
Like,
look what they did with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And not only that, but I'll tell you this too. We might have to wait a little while to figure this out. I think She-Hulk killed off a lot of the MCU's good graces as well. Like, I know it's just a Disney Plus show, but that was a show that was basically just a giant fuck you to anyone who was actually a fan of Marvel. And they already admitted that they had non-fans writing that, and basically just women with an agenda against men who wrote that show. There's a lot of people who was like, hey, look, I put a good amount of years into supporting this brand, and this is a fuck you to me that I'm just not going to come back. And we don't know how much money Wakanda Forever is going to make, and who knows how much money that Ant-Man 3 is going to make as a result of this too.
Well,
So,
I'm sure that the Namor movie is going to make up for it.
Oh yeah.
You want to know what I find funny? They brought back the person, or everybody's saying, there are some people who are claiming, oh, this is such a good thing that Iger's back. You're bringing back the very thing that gave Disney cancer. This guy bought Star Wars not for $4 billion, for $5.5 billion actually, because $500 million each for the 3 treatments that he threw in the trash. Not to mention, he's the one that said, fuck the legends, fuck the fans, we're doing our own thing, and well, we all know what happened there. He also basically started making the MCU into this child-friendly, funny, he's the one that hired or that suggested that people hire Taika Waititi for the Thor Ragnarok film. And believe it or not, people were not, it's like, as much as I like Taika Waititi, I don't think he should go anywhere near MCU. Because look at what happened. He fucked that over. I mean, even Chris Hemsworth freaking called his ass out. Indirectly, of course. But the thing is, you don't freaking try to fix things by bringing back the person who fucked shit up in the first place. This is the worst mistake you can make. You get rid of Bob Chapek. You make sure that Bob Iger stays retired. You bring in somebody who's competent and who's going to say, you know what we need to do? We need to totally reevaluate what we've been doing wrong and why people are turning away from us. Because we're listening to all these social justice weirdos that number in maybe the tens of thousands when we're losing money because millions of people are walking away from our products. We need to actually reevaluate this in a smarter way. I mean, can Bob Iger do it? Maybe if he has a lobotomy, I don't know. But this is the dude who literally started messing shit up. And they want to bring him back. Good on you, Disney. What is it that guy said? Congratulations, you played yourself.
Rob, you had a point.
I just think it's funny, and Jacob knows this because he's followed me for 6, 7, 8 years. I have never liked Disney. Okay, I've always been skeptical of Disney because before Star Wars and Marvel, they marketed themselves as wholly for the family. You know, even the stuff that wasn't strictly kids stuff was still family oriented, largely, at least post 90s when they owned Miramax, they owned Hollywood Pictures, like a bunch of Touchstone Pictures. So I've always been a little like that weirds me out a little bit that you're only selling to this kind of market, but whatever, it's been good business for them. They have utterly cratered since I started following in like 2012, 2013. They have absolutely cratered their business with families, with people that want that family-oriented content, kids' movies. And it's weird because like I was never sensitive to like gay stuff in movies because to me it's just like it's expression at the end of the day. But if you look at all of Disney's releases this year, every single movie has a gay character, a gay reference, some kind of, and it's like that's a little strange to me. It's strange to me that you would have that in things that are geared towards families, kids, children's movies, whatever. It's just like, why is that just constantly in there no matter like what you're creating? So,
well, the story, and we've covered this throughout the years because as you guys know, I've never been a big fan of Disney. I've covered a lot of this even back for the pre-merger stuff, and that's how I got banned from a mutual friend of ours because he didn't like things that I had to say about the company. But earlier this year, you had executives who were on video call talking about how they need to keep pushing more LGBTQ content, specifically in content aimed at kids. And at no point did anyone realize that, hey, this is going to turn off families who are, by and large, are bread and butter when it comes to these movies coming out and making a profit. Because we need these families of 4, families of 5 to spend a whole bunch of money on tickets to come see our stuff so that we can actually make money. And if you look at it right now, the only thing they really have at the moment is the MCU. And even they're starting to realize that that's starting to crater. Because like I said, you burn your bridge with Star Wars fans, so you don't have that at the moment. You burn your bridge with pretty much parents and families this year because no one's going to trust you after what you guys pulled with Lightyear and everything else that's happened over the last few months. So don't expect all these families to turn around and start embracing all of your family-friendly content that you guys have coming up. That's not going to happen. They're only cash cow. If you remove the MCU just entirely out of the picture right now, what is making them the most money as far as like film franchises go? Like, where is Disney's money really coming from if you remove the MCU out of the picture? It's like
their remakes.
the live action remake, like I said, that's mostly family oriented too. And let's be honest, a lot of the live action remakes, like what was it, Beauty and the Beast and like Lion King, those weren't well received. Even though I think Lion King did make like a lot of money, those weren't exactly people were clamoring for more live action
Yeah,
remakes out of
but
Disney.
with the live action remakes, and of course they can coast by name recognition. You had the Gay LeFou. You're going to have a minority Snow White who's going to be all about girl power and is going to not need the prince. You're going to have a minority Little Mermaid because Disney has never had a black princess in its
Never,
whole history.
never.
So that's what you're getting. And so even the live action remakes, they're either doing virtual shot by shot remakes like they did with Lion King. And for the record, I actually liked Jungle Book, uh, but they're doing that, or they're going
Remember,
to.
Jungle Cruise? Remember that movie came
Oh,
out and made
yeah,
a whole bunch of money for Disney?
and that had a gay character as well. That
But you know
Listen,
what? You,
you
you
could
guys
snip off
forgot
of.
Encanto made a shit ton of money. Encanto's still making a lot of money.
what about Pixar? Doesn't Disney own Pixar?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Okay,
No, no.
okay, so any of the Pixar movies, they make a shitload of money for Disney. So they seem to be good at getting those out. But yeah, look, Bob
Lightyear
Iger
didn't.
is part of that.
Yeah,
I
like
just
your
wanna-
bomb, but I can't remember what came out before that one.
Yeah, but I want to say Bob
Luca.
Iger
Toy Story 4?
is what?
No, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, because Bob Iger's part of that old like studio system with like Michael Eisner, who was there
Mhm.
originally. And look, that they're part of like that '80s crew that like took over Hollywood, and they were really successful, like with the Beverly Hills Cop movies and stuff. But like over time, they've like lost their touch, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like they seem to like keep hold of that like that top echelon in Hollywood, despite not doing super well financially, success wise.
I think, obviously Disney's going to have to make some form of adjustment, right? You figure. And the only thing I could think of offhand that would probably benefit them is that since they're bleeding subscribers with Disney Plus, they should, and this would favor me personally, they should go back to releasing physical media. One of the things that a lot of people don't talk about with Disney is how they chose to very strongly abandon physical media, physical releases. The shitty thing that really pissed me off when they bought out Fox was that Fox was amazing at doing 4K transfers. A lot of Fox's 4K transfers were some of the best. I don't know if you guys are aware of the Star Wars 4K Blu-ray release, but 20th Century Fox actually did the release of Star Wars A New Hope on 4K, and that's actually the only good 4K Blu-ray of that original trilogy.
Yeah.
The other two films were poorly done because Disney had done them. So, I mean, I think a way to help them would be going back to doing physical media releases. That's one way that I see them having to reconsider, because they've gone through many years of trying to have their cake and eat it too when they're at their lowest in a very long time, and a lot of it's their own doing. So they're going to have to make some form of change to what their plan was initially.
Real quick, I don't want the Angel Princess thing. So I just said that Lightyear was Disney, not Pixar. Lightyear was Pixar. They were all produced by Pixar, but when they distributed, they just list the Walt Disney Company just so it could have it like all under one company. But it is Lightyear was Pixar. I was gonna bring up that point too. The last Pixar movie that actually made a profit, I guess a sizable profit, was Toy Story 4, which was 2019. Everything that they've done out since then has not done well. Now you can blame, I guess, a few of those on the pandemic because they weren't open. But the first two that they had out this year, Turning Red, didn't do well at all. Even during its limited release, it didn't do very well. Then Lightyear is the one that just completely flopped. And I don't think they have another big one until like maybe next summer or somewhere like that. So, but those were Pixar.
And I don't think Strange Worlds is going to do well. I've heard very little except for the fact that they're going to have a gay teen romance as part of it.
Of course.
I don't know about the physical media because they're the ones that invented the fabled Disney Vault. They made it to where releasing a physical copy of a certain movie was a big event, but they milked that dry to where they kept releasing the same film pretty much in different versions, and it just became almost a parody. Um, they've kept they have nothing left other than their back catalog. That's why they
Actually,
have all of
I
these
have I have a counter argument to
remakes.
that.
Okay.
If they released like their Disney TV shows on 4K, like from Toon Disney, um, or ABC Saturday morning cartoons, you would have fans buying them up so fast because that's what people want. They want like Fillmore, they want Recess, they want Proud Family, they want Kim Possible. Get those out on physical media, and you will have them buying it up immediately.
Yep.
I'd be
Like I
happy if
said, I
they
think that's
released Not Quite Human.
yeah, Spencer brings up a point that they were talking about the whole physical media thing. I think Disney, Amazon especially, does not do as much physical media because they want all their stuff to be on streaming. So they've gone all in on the "you will own nothing and you will be happy" nonsense that they've been trying to push too.
Yep,
But
make the butt
Neil,
be happy.
yeah, exactly. Right. Neil has a question here. He says that I heard rumors that Disney is trying to get rid of anything related to Walt Disney. If that's true or not, we did cover that earlier this year. I guess when they did their it was either their celebration or their anniversary. I forget which one it was, but they took out Walt Disney's welcome speech that he had did like way back in the day. And let's be honest, Disney's a company that they've been doing everything they possibly can over the course of ever since Walt Disney died to spit in his legacy. So I mean, it's really not much of a surprise that there's a lot of people who work at Disney that despise Walt.
Well, of course,
I do want to say
we can't
real
honor
quick.
a
Yeah.
racist. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to say real quick. Someone in the comments earlier said Disney is the real Weyland Yutani Corporation, from the Aliens movies.
Yes.
And I just want to say that
before.
Yeah, and the irony there is, of course, Disney owns 20th Century Fox. So
Yeah.
they own the It's weird. It's like they own the franchise and they're the evil corporation in the movie. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And they got
Well, they
bought
own
out
Disney
by
Star
Walmart.
Wars too, and they're the Empire, so
They're
they've
the
got
worst,
multiple.
aren't
And you've got
Multiple
Disney.
ones.
Disney's this racist, sexist, anti-Semite who was courting Lenny Riefenstahl. So of course you can't honor him, which is strange because the last time I went to Disney World, they had like a little section that had the Walt Disney story narrated by Julie Andrews, and it was a little bit sanitized, but that they presented his life story, but yes, it wasn't in a big theater. It was like in a tucked away area. So I guess they've been trying to diminish his legacy, which is kind of sad because he was a very innovative figure. And he was, I think there was a documentary that featured him as one of the few studio moguls who managed to kind of stay. I don't want to stay afloat usually during the Depression, but that was also because he was making animated films for the troops and licensing, always licensing the characters even to military. So he was shrewd. It's a shame though that if he's going to be erased based on allegations that are probably false.
Well,
You
keep
wanna
in
know what
mind
is
they spent years painting Walt Disney as anti-Semitic because back in the 50s he was actually trying to he helped Congress weed out the communists who were in Hollywood, was trying to fight back against that. So as a smear against him, and it's like, oh, you hate the Jews, even though he's trying to weed out communists. So that's how they got it. And then of course people always reference that Family Guy bit that helps people believe that, oh yeah, he must really hate Jewish people.
I mean, I absolutely love the fact that they're going after a guy who, when he was running things, ensured that all of his employees were medically insured, were given proper pay, were taken care of by his company. This dude literally put his own money into this
But
to ensure that his employees were taken care of. And he did that or when he hired them for life.
Yeah, but you forget he hated unions, and when they unionized at Disney, it was a very fierce battle, and I don't think he ever fully recovered emotionally from that union fight, and that's
He
where he
hated
became
unions,
convinced.
yet he
Yeah,
created the best union.
but he loathed them so much that's why he joined the was it the anti-union and communist anti-communist was it the society to whatever he joined, and he was very
Yeah.
much in favor of stopping the unions. So he was very angry about that, because I think he considered all of these employees family, and they felt the union was a betrayal. As for Bob Iger, I don't know what they expect. I don't know what they expect if his return is going to improve the lot of the corporation. You had asked a few weeks ago, I think, if Disney was too big to fail. I think it's tipping toward a strong yes. Yes, it isn't too big. I'm sorry, it's not too big to fail. It's looking like it's slowly teetering toward collapse or absorption by Apple or something else, because they can't get out of their own way, and they seem determined to use their programming and their films to make substandard product, even without
All
the other content.
all I have to say is that if that's true, and if the government allows Apple to buy Disney, you talk about the system being rigged. I mean, let's just be honest there. You want to talk about antitrust lawsuits? Like, yeah, there'll be some problems there if that were to happen. But we got one last story here to do before we tick off for today, and it's Rob's boy Quentin Tarantino, who made a little comment today that upset some people, and then the response to this comment, it just made me just talk about completely missing the point. But let's go ahead and bring up our last story here. Quentin Tarantino says that Marvel actors are not movie stars. Captain America is the star, not Chris Evans. So let's hear what he has to say here and see if you guys agree with what he's saying. It said, yeah, Jennifer Aniston made headlines when she said that there's no more movie stars. Quentin Tarantino agrees. As evidence in the podcast, I think it was like Two Bears, One Cave podcast that Tarantino did. He said that Hollywood has lost the movie stars due to the marvelization of Hollywood. He says, part of the marvelization of Hollywood is that you have these actors who have become famous playing these characters, but they're not movie stars, right? Captain America is the star, or Thor is the star. I mean, I'm not the first person to say that. I think it's been said a zillion times, but it's like, these franchise characters that become the stars. He says for Captain America is the star, not Chris Evans. He says, I'm not even putting him down, frankly, to tell you the truth, the director said. He said, it's just one of the legacy of the marvelization of Hollywood movies. So he clarified in the interview that he does not hate Marvel movies, but dislikes them for being the only product Hollywood is interested in making these days. He says, look, I used to collect Marvel comics like crazy when I was a kid. There's an aspect that if these movies are coming out when I was in my 20s, I'll be fucking happy. I will love them. I mean, I said they wouldn't be the only movies being made. But yeah, these movies are amongst other movies, but I'm almost 60, so yeah, I'm not quite as excited about them. He said, my only axe to grind is that against them, there are the only things that seem to be getting made, and that there are the only things that seem to generate any kind of excitement amongst a fan base or even studio making them. That's what they're excited about. So that's so it's just the fact that they're the entire representation of this era of movies right now. There really isn't much room for anything else, and that's my problem. So that was Tarantino's statement on the MCU and the movie star. Now, before we address that, I also want to address the response to that by someone who I will only refer to as Fuckboy, only because I can't pronounce his name. But Shang-Chi actor Simon Liu went and responded to Tarantino's comments that I just read here. And he, of course, makes the whole thing about race. So let me just jump down to his tweets right here. This is what he posted earlier today. He said, "If only if only the gatekeepers to movie stardom came from Tarantino and Scorsese, I will never have the opportunity to leave a $400 million plus movie." By the way, $400 million for a Disney MCU movie is not that much money. Just throwing it out there. I mean, Black Panther has already made 545 in less than 2 weeks. I'm in awe of their filmmaking genius. They are transcendent auditeurs, but they don't get to the point. But they don't get the point their nose at me or anyone. No studio is or ever will be perfect, but I'm proud to work with one that has made a sustained effort to improve diversity on screen by creating heroes that empower and inspire people of all communities everywhere. I love the Golden Age too, but it was white as hell, he said. That's your Shang-Chi actor. So, obviously, I want to start with the Tarantino comments first, and then we can address what that idiot just said. But we've talked about this many times before. People like Scorsese have said this when he's called Marvel movies theme park rides, which I agree with him on that as well. And it's always very interesting to me how whenever someone makes a comment about the MCU films, you always get that comic book guy who's so attached to his childhood. It's like, look, you're talking about a Disney property here at the end of the day, right? It's like these movies aren't the end all be all, and I can understand someone like Tarantino who actually makes like good films being frustrated at essentially the never-ending soap opera that is the MCU. So Rob, he's your boy. I'll start off with you. Do you agree with what he said here? And then what is your thoughts on what the Shang-Chi actor had to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in agreement with Tarantino. What he's saying here is that the attraction for people to go to see a movie in these MCU movies is the superhero. It's not Chris Evans. It's not Chris Hemsworth. It's not Mark Ruffalo. People don't give a shit. They want to see the character. The star of the movie is the superhero. And how it used to be, the star system, how it worked was you went to see a Robert Mitchum movie. You went to see you went to see a movie with Marlon Brando. You went to see a movie, and that's the attraction. I'll watch anything with that star in it because they're so magnetic. They're so watchable. I'll watch them in a war movie or a romantic drama or a film noir or a space movie or something. But it's like, what's driving audiences to go to those movies is the stars themselves. Tom Cruise is the last movie star apparently because it's the same thing. That Top Gun movie, it was, let's go see Tom Cruise fly fucking jets. You know what I mean? That was the allure. That was the draw. And that's all Tarantino's saying here. The fucking, if maybe you want me to wait for this Shang-Chi guy, but everything he said was fucking a wet fart. Basically, I can't make what they do. I can't make something as good as Tarantino or Scorsese. I belong to this studio that puts tokenism at the very front of what they promote and what they put in their creations. And so it's like, okay, I get it. You have no frame of reference here. You don't know what the context in which he's talking about. So I'll just ignore you. But yeah, I pretty much agree with Quentin Tarantino. It's like we don't have movie stars anymore.
You have to understand how mentally deranged this Shang-Chi loser is. He actually had the gall to say that he's the first Chinese American movie star. And it's just like, Bruce Lee existed, Jackie Chan existed. Like, how fucking stupid are you to actually think that? In his mind, he thinks he's a movie star. He's a fucking nobody. Nobody's gonna remember his name like they know Jackie Chan. But in his mind, he actually thinks he's a movie star.
Well,
he thinks because he thinks because he was Shang-Chi, a not even a B tier level superhero. Like we're talking about what a D tier level Marvel hero in the grand scheme of things. He thinks because he was Shang-Chi that he was like the first Asian action star that America has ever seen. Like they made history. Like you do realize people were like going to go see Jackie Chan movies like 40 years ago, right?
Well, in the same way that Bros is the first gay romantic comedy made in the history of all mankind, and I would argue that the first Asian movie star was Anna May Wong from the silent era, so who's actually going to appear on the quarter this year, if she hasn't already appeared on there. Tarantino's absolutely right. People do not go to see Chris Evans. or even or Chris Hemsworth. When was the last movie that Chris Hemsworth opened? I mean, what? Ghostbusters? Uh, Black
I
Hat?
mean, to
Who
be
went to see
fair,
those?
Black Hat, Black
yeah.
Hat by Michael Mann, yeah.
And to be fair, we were literally just having this conversation. I think maybe last night or a couple of days beforehand, we were talking about like Chris Hemsworth, for instance, the guy who plays Thor. It's like, what good movie has he been in outside of the Thor movies, which in and of itself aren't really that good to begin with? It's like it's not like he's had a great career outside of the MCU. And then you can ask yourself, well, who else has had a great career outside of the MCU, outside of guys who were already established before the MCU?
The only person you could argue is Chris Pratt, and that's like pushing it. Like at least he's managed to sell blockbuster movies that aren't him playing Star-Lord. Admittedly,
that would be the Jurassic World franchise. He's the face of it. Look, who did you get? Robert Downey Jr. And that was a comeback for him. He was not known to be a comic book actor. All these other actors who have been the stars of all of these, they were not well known, and they're still not well known. They don't open films. Nobody goes and says, I'm going to see the Mark Ruffalo film. He's done other films, and he's not a big draw. Brie Larson, we've already covered her about this. Scarlett Johansson. I mean, did she open? Was that Ghost in the Shell? I mean, were people flocking to see her because they said, "Oh, we're getting Black Widow here"? No, Tarantino's right, and Tarantino has also had the struggle with Disney and the MCU before. I think it was on Howard Stern where he talked about how was it The Hateful Eight had to be pulled from the Cinerama theater because they wanted to put a Marvel
Star
film,
Wars.
yes, Star Wars, in that theater, and he was like, no. No, but they were adamant that they had some sort of contract to do that. So of course he still remembers that. So no, these people don't open films. Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson. I don't think that they're not talented. But wait, really, does anyone go and say, "Oh, well, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in this new movie. We got to go see it." No, because there was Doctor Strange. Tom Holland, for heaven's sakes, he's did anyone go see Cherry? Who goes to see these movies if they're not attached to the MCU? That's why some other actors, whatever the flaws that people have against Timothy Chalamet, he has been adamant that he's not going to do a superhero movie. He was advised not to, and he's respected. I'm sure his name doesn't open films, but at least he is willing to do a franchise like in Dune, which already was an established property before he came along. Tarantino's right, and all of these fanboys who are upset and angry, and the Simulu, or I'm sorry, I do want to say his name. He's
boy,
it doesn't matter.
Jabroni.
He's absolutely wrong in his assertions. Moreover, why is he dragging race into this? Chris Hemsworth, last time I checked, is the whitest of white people. Chris Evans.
All the Chris's are white.
All the Chris's are white. Mark Ruffalo is white. Scarlett Johansson is not only white, but she apparently masquerades as Asian in Ghost in the Shell. Brie Larson is white. Apart from Black Panther, and almost everyone in the Eternals, which everyone hates. All of these people are white. Why does he drag race? It's a very convenient and cheap way to excuse the fact that you are not a star. We have had Asian stars. We have had they've had to take, unfortunately, poor roles in the past. People like Anime Wong and Nancy Kwan, Bruce Lee. It's an absurdity to say that you don't have any Asian stars or any Hispanic stars.
Oh God. And Rick, just real quick here, like there's also this other place called the Eastern Hemisphere with all these other Asian countries with their own culture literally, you are 4 billion of the freaking planet. You are half the population of the planet, at least. you know,
he acts like
over there too.
He acts like South Korea and China don't have their own film industries, functioning film industries over there as well.
Well,
And
there's
it's
also
important-
Shin Ultraman coming to the States too. Just wait to see how much Shin Ultraman makes over here, and
Yeah.
then that will shut him the fuck up.
The
Because Shin
thing
Ultraman's
is, though-
very popular in Japan, and there's a lot of Ultraman fans in the States too.
Real quick, before I let Cassie go, I just want to make this point too. Let's be honest about what Shang-Chi is in the MCU, in the context of the MCU. He's the Mandarin. They decided years ago that, hey, look, we can't have the Mandarin in his comic book portrayal because that's going to upset the country of China. So we have to completely shit all over that character. But then they decided, you know what? Let's try to fix that mistake that we fucked up 10 years ago, but give the 10 rings to a character named Shang-Chi and have him essentially be the Mandarin as a character.
Oh,
that's
you
the
forget-
whole reason why he exists in the first place.
And you forget in Doctor Strange, was it the Ancient One had to go from Tibetan to Celtic?
Yeah.
Because there's no such country as Tibet. So
Yeah, because they don't exist because China money.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, the reality is, whether Marvel fanboys want to believe it or not, Quentin Tarantino is absolutely right. Star power is dead. You have to understand that these giant corporations want it to be as such. A lot of these giant corporations, they don't really like Tarantino. You know why? Because his name alone sells a movie. They want interchangeable people to make their lukewarm mush, and you will go and pay money to see it. That's all they want. And the thing is, people like this individual that plays Shang-Chi, he has this thought in his brain that Disney gave me an opportunity. Disney wants to push, directors that aren't known at all. They're typically not white, and a lot of the time they're trying to push for people that aren't men in these roles, because guess what? They have social power over people that aren't well known. They don't really want to fuck with Tarantino like that because it's Tarantino's way. And if you don't like that, then basically he's going to call you out on it. They don't want people like that. They don't want actors that have star power, that actually have a say in it. People like this Shang-Chi dude. He's made to believe that, oh, Disney gave me what I have. No, they gave you this. It's like welfare. It's like government slides you this little bit of money, and you look at government like, oh my God, thank you so much, Poppy. Thank you so much for giving me this money that I need so desperately. When it's just like the government gives you this so that you'll be on the government's nipple forever. It's the same thing with these corporations. They give you this little part here, make you feel special about yourself, and let you suck on the nipple forever. And you think that you're fucking special when you're not. You're just being used, you moron.
By the way,
I'm sorry. Did Simu Liu or whatever his actor? Did he ask his co-star Michelle Yeoh if she is well known in the Western market? Because I think she's a bigger name than he is, and I don't see her as complaining as much as he has about not being able to be Asian and still be a star.
Well, I think Neurotic put it perfectly here. It says Simu Liu is not a movie star. So that's just pretty
The way I
solid
see
there.
it is I don't lend any sort of weight to what he has to say, Simu Liu, that is, because one, this dude over, I believe it was either last summer or this summer, I believe it was last summer, because Shang-Chi came out last year.
Yeah, last year.
So yeah, it was last summer where it came out that this dude was kind of sympathetic to
business has gone to like this.
Some very disturbing people, pedophiles, in fact, and saying, oh, well, we need to understand them. No, you don't need to understand them. So anything you say going forward, now that you say, or that you are a sympathizer for these sickos, you've honestly lost all weight, at least in my eyes. Because the thing is, when you are, because he did that for a role that he had to do for playing one of those sick fucks. You don't, or there's just certain things you don't say. There's just certain things you don't do. And I understand wanting to understand them for a role, but you don't go any further than that. you don't say these are people that we need to understand so that they can be helped. They can't be helped. And Simu Liu coming out saying, "Oh, I was the first Asian, this and that." Motherfucker, it is well known that you are not. So your lies just added even less weight. You are already feather light. You're now becoming Adam light, basically. Because
it's the same. Keep in mind, it's the same thing they did with Black Panther, where they were trying to soup that up to be like, "Oh, it's the first major movie with an all black." No, it's not. Like, just stop.
they were also trying to say that about Black Panther, that he was the first the first black Marvel superhero. Motherfucker, first off, there was James Rhodes in the damn MCU before you. Secondly,
Yeah.
there was Blade in the 90s before you. So don't even go there. Now, that wasn't Chadwick Boseman who was saying that. That was everybody else saying that.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't even go there. But Simu Liu, I can't stand that guy. It's like every time I hear or see any news about him, it's like, oh, you're reminding people that you exist. So your point is what exactly? Oh, wait, you're whining about white people. And yet it's a bunch of white people that gave you that opportunity with Disney and Marvel.
Yep. I want to play this video real quick because this is something that Anthony Mackie, who plays the new Captain America.
This was back in 2016, that video.
Yeah, so I just want to point what he said, and he pretty much says the same thing that Tarantino here, but I just want to hear his own words.
Business.
They know that they may not say it publicly because they don't want to affect their careers, but they know exactly what we fucking know about this whole system. So
And
the only thing is, them saying this back in 2016. It's now 2022. They could easily say something. It's like, well, back then I was quite ignorant, because look at Margot Robbie. She came out against identity politics when Batman versus Superman came out. If you watch the special features about the Wonder Woman special featurette, she's saying that if you focus on the character or their identity or their gender, it's the biggest mistake you can make. Now, or freaking like 4 years later, back in 2020, she's saying all this stuff like, oh, we need to focus on this. It's a woman, or we need to do women's story and women empowerment and this and that, when she was outright against it because she recognized the dangers of it. So yeah, I would bet you $1 million that if Anthony Mackie was asked about these comments back in 2016 that he gave, he would immediately walk that shit back.
Yeah,
especially now that the wrong people are making the same statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, when Margot Robbie did that female empowerment film, what do we get? Birds of Prey, and that didn't go over very well, did it?
And the thing is, it's like, you have to understand that these corporations want it to be this way. They don't want to give a movie star any form of star power. It's like, we contract you to do this, and we want you to get nothing out of it except the money that we give you, and we want to retain all that power. And the thing is, it's like, you would think that for movie stars to, quote unquote, movie stars or actors to counter this, they would at least resonate with the people. And they have not done that over the past many years.
They've been insulting us ever since.
Insufferable. They want to have nobody on their side. So you know what? Fuck them.
And I mean, again, I went back. I go back to how it was in the so-called golden age that he so besmears. You had these studios hire actors, and then they started putting them in small parts to gauge what the audience liked them or not, and what roles that they were willing to do. They took the time to groom. Not to use that word, but they took the time to groom and train these performers, not with singing lessons, acting lessons, all that, but also to give them small parts and then build them up to bigger stars. They work their way up. Donna Reed worked her way up from being in Andy Hardy films to being a major star. Same with Judy Garland. Same with James Stewart. Now, they just grab stars or grab actors or just attractive looking people, throw them onto the screen and almost demand that you worship them. That's why Josh Hartnett never took off. They tried to make him into a star and it didn't work. They tried the same with Channing Tatum. They tried the same with Sam Worthington.
Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor Kitsch, poor guy. I felt so bad for him. They've tried. Now they're just throwing people in and expecting them to be embraced by the public with a big hit. It's not going to work. If they go back to slowly working actors in from small parts to larger parts, but there's no interest in that. They just want to rush the product out there, see if they can cash in, and it's not going to work. So that's why you don't have movie stars now, or maybe one or two left. Tom Cruise would be the big case. I can't think of anyone else outside of a Tom Cruise whose name alone will get people into the theaters. And I mean the same that's why we say people like Chris Pratt, or I mean Chris Evans, Chris Pine, Mark Ruffalo, all the actors who have been in these MCU films. Are you going to go see them? I mean, was it Kit Harington was in Eternals? Are you going to rush out to see a Kit Harington movie, even if he was on Game of Thrones, a show that probably not as many people saw? You're not going to, because they're not big names. You're not building them. They are going to be the characters. You are going to go. You don't say you're going to see the Chris Evans movie. You're going to see the Captain American movie. You're not going to go see the Scarlett Johansson. You're going to see Black Widow. Of course, they're going to identify with the characters and not the performers. You can trade those in. You can replace actors in these films. So why? I mean, why are people bashing Tarantino? He is correct. He is absolutely correct in his assessment.
You know what's crazy though?
Go ahead.
This has been a thing since before the MCU. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman, for example. He's known as Wolverine. After retiring the role, I know he's recently come back, but after retiring the role, like, who really talks about Hugh Jackman anymore? The only time they started talking about Hugh Jackman again is when he reprised. They announced he's reprising his role as Wolverine. This has been a thing since before the MCU. Crazy enough.
Or when he's doing musicals.
I would right. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, there's one exception, and it's The Prestige, the Christopher Nolan movie. I think he's really good in that. But yeah, Hugh Jackman.
No. The thing is, look, that you're talking about a director that has a level of respect on, close to a Tarantino, so I get that as well. But it's like, the thing is, he doesn't get that kind of hype. Like when I talk about Prisoners, I'm like, Prisoners is a great movie. Hugh Jackman was absolutely amazing at it. People know him for Wolverine, but check out this movie, and it's like nobody knows about Prisoners, and it's like, what the fuck?
Oh well, I would slightly
really
disagree. I mean,
good,
people
love
the Greatest Showman, and he was the big star in that one.
Yeah, but
I was going to say, I remember him from The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, I don't understand the cult.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
But I do agree, Cassie, in this respect, and I think I've mentioned this story before, where he was on Broadway playing Peter Allen, the boy from Oz. And there was a scene with, he's a gay man and he's, has a same-sex kiss. Somewhere in the audience, a man actually shouted, "Wolverine, don't do it!" So that's how identified he is with the part.
My thing is, does an actor go back to doing, stage play because they want to? Is that really is I don't know personally. Is that an honest thing that they say when they actually do want to go back to stage play?
Some of them do. Some of them, for example, Charlton Heston would always go back to the theater because he said that it was, quote, renewing his passport as an actor. Others are there because it gives them some sort of prestige or cachet that, I did Broadway. And I mean, some of them are sincere. I think someone like a Denzel Washington, when he's done that. James Earl Jones, they've gone back to Broadway and they go between films and theater. Others like
you mean actual movie stars that actually
Denzel Washington, I think, could qualify as a movie star.
But he's a part of the old guard.
Yes.
I used to go to Broadway just to see movie stars up close in person. It was like the biggest. Yeah, I'm gonna be lame here, but it was the biggest thrill of my life. So, but like being able to see like James Spader being able to see Michael C. Hall in drag, by the way. So it was just like that's a very cool part of it. I just wanted to say real quick that what's happening is the inverse of the 30 studio system. There are no more movie stars. There's no contracts. They don't gain anything by promoting them, so they don't. The model has completely changed. And yeah, it's Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
I was just gonna mention that real quick. Like, you remember the days when like actors were actually exclusive to the studios rather than just being like Cassie said earlier. It's like they built a system where they don't want the actor, the writer, or the director to be bigger than the studio anymore. There's only 3 or 4 major studios left in Hollywood now, and they want all the power. So they want traffic guards. They want people out there to be like, okay, tell the actors what to do. Here's your script. We're doing the script for you, and this is the direction that we want. So just make our movie for us, and then we'll go back and back to the abyss.
I'm just curious, Rob. Why did you yell at Hugh Jackman not to kiss the guy on stage? Because it was you, right? You were the guy that was yelling, "Wolverine, don't do it!" Right?
No. I know you're joking, but I did see my first time coming to New York City. This is how I figured out Hugh Jackman's probably in the closet. Just a guess on my part.
Probably.
I was coming into New York City for the first time, and I see this big 50-foot billboard, Hugh Jackman in like a very flamboyant musical, and I was like,
"The Boy from Oz." That's the one
it's
you're
Wolverine, and it was like, oh.
The guy was playing a gay guy. I mean, of course he had to be
okay,
over the top.
I mean, every day he plays. Just put it that way.
Yeah. Hey, he's an actor.
I will say one of my favorite movies growing up was The First Wives Club, and there's Goldie Hawn plays Elise in it, and she goes back to Broadway in it, and she talks about sometimes like just having the audience in front of her, like getting the praise like in person and stuff. So I can see why after being in kind of like a movie studio setting for so long, you would want to go back to where the audience is live. You're getting direct feedback yourself. You're not getting it from your yes men necessarily.
I feel like maybe Hugh Jackman, actually cares about his craft. I think he's a pretty damn good actor in his own right. But a lot of these younger actors, I don't think they could give a shit less, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys almost forgot Zac Efron still brings people to the movie theaters.
No, he doesn't.
Not anymore? I thought he did.
No.
Not
Outside
Are you talking about like
musical,
physically
no.
buying tickets or like being a draw?
What was his last movie?
Yeah.
The Greatest Beer Run Ever.
The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Yeah.
No, he did. It was on Netflix. I think
shit, right?
it was the Ted Bundy movie. I think was the last one.
Yeah.
It was okay.
No, he did something else this year.
I know he's doing one right now, and he's really jacked.
He did a really good movie earlier this year called Gold. I think I told you guys about it, about how they found the Rock out in Australia, and then he had to sit there and get eaten by a pack of dogs at the end of the movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, but
I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I'm not going to be someone who slams Simu Liu, but he's not going to be a draw for film goers. Michelle Yeoh, she could argue that she could be something of a draw because she's a well-known. Michelle Yeoh.
I didn't know who this guy was when I retweeted him today. I was like, oh, he's an actor. I thought he was just some dumb shit on Twitter. So there's that. I do know who Michelle Yeoh is. Michelle Yeoh, because she was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was a giant piece of shit that came out earlier this year. Yeah,
well, she was one of the best. She was one of the best Bond girls.
And she's also 60, bro. Okay.
Yes, and she's probably could beat all of us up. What is your point?
I think she was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
She was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as well. Crazy Rich Asians. She was in that as well.
Also,
she
keep
was
in
in that
mind,
Sunshine movie with Chris Evans, and Chris Evans dies in that one.
I was just gonna say. Also remember that dipshit McGee, Shang-Chi, was a TV actor before he got his MCU role as well. So that's probably why no one knows him.
Well, I'm curious, and maybe this isn't completely related, but is Simu Liu still bitter about how Bruce Lee was portrayed in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? That's why he's taking it out on Tarantino.
Is he one of those people who cried about that shit?
I mean, I don't know if that is the
feeling
case.
very bitter about what Tarantino said because at the end of the day, he was on some bullshit. But even I could like separate that from what he's saying now and say that he's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Well, look, we all know that, the MCU is throwing everything at the water right now, trying to get people to keep being interested in this shit. We got Ant-Man 3 coming up, so there's that. You're going to get your big Kang villain in that one. Then you have the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the end of the James Gunn era, so you can go spend all your money on that one. And then the big movie, which is going to be the MCU's big draw for 2023, is this film right here. The Marvels with Brie Larson, the chick that was in the WandaVision, the chick that was in Miss Marvel. I don't even know who this person is, but this is going to be your big tentpole movie next summer. This is what Marvel's putting all their chips into, is those
Brie Larson
four
and
women.
diversity hires. Got it.
I am sorry, and I don't mean this to sound mean, but I thought that this was like a Dreamgirls thing when I heard the title, The Marvels. I did think it was like a girl band, like the
it might as well be.
I'd rather watch a 2023 Josie and the Pussycats movie over some bullshit like this.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. Is that the writer?
We don't. It doesn't matter.
it
doesn't matter.
I'm surprised that if we had such large diversity in Eternals. I mean, you had a black, gay superhero.
Yeah, all that diversity, and it was the worst MCU film ever created in the 15-year run that they've been doing this shit. So
what is diversity?
That guy was so gay. It was clear that he was so uncomfortable doing that gay kiss that everybody behind the camera was saying, "Oh, it's so stunning, it's so brave. I had tears." Yeah, tears because you forced two straight guys to freaking kiss each other, and they didn't want to do it.
Yeah. What does diversity do for disparaged races and the female gender if the diversity film is a piece of shit? To me, it's more offensive than anything else.
By the way, just real quick, we found out that remember last week I mentioned that they're doing a series about a Native American deaf, gay, one-legged superhero. That thing is already having production issues. So,
find somebody to fit the bill.
Not enough accessibility.
No,
I just want to mention real quick.
Later.
Spencer just brought up who the director is. Nia DaCosta. You know what she did? She did last year's worst movie of the year, Candyman.
Oh, fuck me.
She has a great track record already. I can't wait.
Oh, fuck
me. Exciting. That's so exciting.
I think this just comes back to cultural reparations. So I didn't get an actual definition of it put together. So.
I'm curious.
They turned Candyman into a fucking racial superhero in that film where he only kills white people. That's not even a joke. Like, he literally only kills white people in the movie.
But the thing is, back to these production issues. I'm curious to know what production issues are there. Like, did the main actress have a dispute with stairs? Like, is that what happened, or is it more intricate? Like, I would like to know.
Cassie.
I mean, she has all the victim points. She's a woman. She's Native American. She has one leg. She can't hear. She's gay. I mean, how you can't put any more victim columns on that one?
Okay, so she had a dispute with a straight identifies as he. Whatever the fuck, flight of stairs. I'm convinced.
No, it was IHOP. Plot. They wouldn't sponsor the show.
You won't see that one on Hallmark.
Well, that's Cassie. Oh my gosh.
And on that note, we're gonna go ahead and end the show. So let's go ahead and get the plugs out of the way and get the hell out of here. Let's start with Miss Johnson, who I'm pretty sure has something that she would like for all of us to see with her little cartoon fat cat over there.
It's a chunk. Thank you very much.
I actually got my cat sitting next to me now too, but my office is a mess. Chunk. So come follow me on YouTube. I just got my 300 subscribers, so I need 700 more, please. And then, a million and bajillion after that. But I've got some free books coming up too. Black Friday starts early. I'm trying to slowly move to the point where I can put my ebooks for free, period. So people will buy more of my physical media, because at some point I'm sure I'm going to get canceled. So, so there's that. And my
the
Kickstarter.
ego on this woman to think that anyone is going to want to cancel her.
I know.
Disgusting.
I know. At some point, though, somebody's gonna just watch all your videos one day, Jacob, and they'll be like, "Let's clip out all this time that she's making IHOP jokes about the one-legged actress."
They're gonna click through all the Cassie rants to somehow go after you.
Oh well, the tallest blade of grass is the first to be cut by the lawnmower. So.
All right, then let's move over to our buddy somewhere in the frost in New York, Mr. Orange Hat. What do you have coming up?
Well, I got another mystery review to close out November for next week. I just got done doing The Rock today. Great movie. Also, coincidentally, it mentioned the JFK assassination, which was like 40 or 59 years ago today as well. The hints for the mystery review are MCU and Star. Don't mention it if you know it. You could follow me on YouTube, Minds, Getter, Twitter. If you do follow me on Twitter, please be sure to click the bell next to the follow button, because I am seriously shadow banned on Twitter. You will not see my going live notifications until like 6 hours later. That's no joke. I literally pay attention to the analytics just to make sure. And so, yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, definitely make sure you have notifications on for me, because otherwise you're not going to see my stuff. Other than that, I do guest choice reviews where people get to choose a movie that they want to discuss. They get to come on. They also get to choose the time and date. It's fun. Cassie and I just did East of Eden, which was so freaking great.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm also trying to get a new weekly stream going, much like this one, but different. It's going to be called The Hat Crew, where we either discuss movies or where we discuss entertainment stuff as well. Just for another, trying to get my watch time up. I haven't yet broken 3,200 hours because it just keeps on dropping just as I'm about to get there. But other than that, yeah, I do movie reviews, entertainment news, and hope y'all check out my channel.
Swinging over to Washington for everyone's favorite streamer, Rob Motto. What you got going up with it?
Yep, I'm not doing anything. No, I'm working all week, but I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It's coming up on Thursday. It's actually one of my favorite holidays as an adult, because I get to sit at home all day and watch movies and football and eat food. And those are some pretty great activities, in my opinion. So I have a movie recommendation. I seemingly it's become my tradition every year. And it's going to be a fucked up movie. So it's The Vicious Kind, starring Adam Scott and Brittany Snow. It sort of follows East of Eden a little bit, like with this kind of family secret that tears a family apart, and it's pretty great. But check it out if you get the chance. Also, Thanksgiving, the terrible killer turkey movie, is a really fun nightcap. So yeah, check it out.
All right. Jumping over to the other Pennsylvania narrative over here. The biggest Jets fan in the world, Cole Costa Cage.
Should have worn my
What you got
Jets hat.
coming up? Yeah.
I have no idea what I have coming up. Everything I do is spur of the moment. So yeah, just tune in if you want to. You can follow me on YouTube, Cult Classic Cage. I just posted a bunch of shit. I was actually did a video talking about the Quentin Tarantino thing. So if you want to get my more personal thoughts, I guess you can check that out. Also, a lot of people weren't really talking about it, but one of the original stuntmen for Michael Myers has passed away, and I made a video talking about that. If you're a fan of Halloween, he basically, his name is James Winburn, and he did the the final scene of the movie where he gets shot off the balcony. So that's actually a pretty hard stunt in comparison to the other stunts you had to do in the film. So definitely rest in peace to James Winburn. And also made another video just shitting on modern day Saints Row fans because, well, they're idiots that don't play video games. So that's funny. And yeah, just I do whatever I want when I feel like it. So if you're interested in that, tune into my channel, Cult Classic Cage, or if you want to talk to me personally, hit me up on Twitter.
Let me ask you a question. Did you know that your hat matches your chair? Is that the reason why you wear that right now? Because it's like
Not
bordering
really.
on like camouflage right now. I know I'm not like the only person who noticed this.
No, I really like this hat. I like blue, so.
All right, then. Well, let's go move over to Patient Zero all the way in California, Nerdigans. How you holding up over there?
I'm holding up okay. So what I've got going on is over on Bounding. I have been covering a lot of questionable material between all the let's see, the where do I start? Between all the pedo stuff, pedo trade going on Pixiv via the Chinese websites. Right now I'm working on the Vice story. Oh my god, the stupidity from that is just insane, and I got even more stuff on that. It's getting even more bizarre because someone posted that Vice, and I totally forgot about it, that Vice is very, very pro pedophilia. So, like, the fact that they are attacking Japan for their pedophilic manga industry is just fucking hilarious.
No, there's no standards whatsoever at Vice.
No, there's not. And then I covered for Bounding. I also covered what's going on with Dragon Ball Super, and Japan is not happy with what's going on with the NPCs in the new Pokemon game, whether it be no skirts or the fact that there's too much diversity, and there's a little bit of racism involved in some of the comments that I found.
A little.
But I'm dead serious. They do not like the diversity. They think Pokemon has sold its soul to wokeness. But on my channel, I am covering manga because manga never sleeps, and neither do I at this point. Practically running on like almost 3 to 4 hours of sleep every day. It's crazy.
That should be your new motto for your show.
Well,
She's
manga
the living
never
avatar of
that's
New York
been my
City.
motto for a long time is manga never sleeps, and neither do I. But yeah, check out my channel, Nerdigans Inc. I cover manga basically every day. I even covered the Vice transcript, which I spent like 5 hours transcribing the video. It was very much a pain in the ass. I think I lost a ton of brain cells doing that. Oh my god! But I will say this though: the politician they interviewed was based as hell because they shut the Vice reporter down. It was amazing. But anyways, I'll probably be. Are we doing a thing tomorrow, Jacob, or no?
No, not tomorrow, not this week. I'll let you guys know more about that. But we're off this week.
Then I'll be back here next Tuesday, and then whatever we're doing next Wednesday. So stay tuned.
All right, and then finally, the man who's about 2 more visits away from getting a restraining order brought to him by Whataburger. It's Mr. Rob Motto. I mean, Rick.
Mr. Rob Motto. All right. Well, I guess I'm
knew
Italian.
I was gonna do that.
I'm Italian now because we're both Mexican. What I've got coming up, I'm starting to get all the screeners to review for awards consideration for the Online Film Critics Society. I'm getting the online links and I'm getting the physical ones. I think I just got something for the Benicio del Toro Pinocchio. I got it. It's a big box. It was right outside my house. I was like, oh wow, what is this? I thought it was Pinocchio stuffed in there. And we're also getting the links for some of the other films, some that I missed. I am hoping that they'll send more, but watching them is very hard because I get home late and I try to watch as many. I watched one on Sunday That's why I'm always amazed when Rob says that he watched 13. I can barely get 3 in the weekend. And also just looking forward to seeing some of the films. Not exactly looking forward to seeing Glass Onion, but that's part of the job, and also trying to squeeze in the not Steven Spielberg biopic coming up, and just trying to see other films that are going to crop up uh, during the winter season to see whether or not they get mentioned when I submit my names for the Online Film Critics Society awards, and that's pretty much it. Film wise, and also trying to just keep track of all these other films that I checked out, including at least one or two of the Halloweens, which I still haven't seen after all this time. Ah, Lord Almighty! I just get flooded with the screeners. Sometimes I get physical screeners and online screeners. I could get 4 or 5 per day, and I want to watch as many as I can, but it can be really exhausting, especially when you're working and you get home like at 7:30 or 8, and you want to get to bed by about 10. Uh, and so I just that's really all my life. Usually around Thanksgiving and December, it's nothing but trying to watch screeners, trying to watch films, trying to get through as many reviews as possible.
Shut up! Oh my God, I don't care.
That's racist. That is racist. You're oppressing an oppressed minority there, Jacob.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty much it. I can pick up a cue. That's still racist.
I thought that was my thing anyway. You're supposed to play that for me.
Wow.
Making the
right,
white
then.
woman mad here, Jacob. That's not good.
Very,
Yes,
very jealous.
racism confirmed. Like I said, no retro rave reviews this week. We're taking the day off. The day off. I will still be on the Black Pill stream tomorrow night on Bounding in the Comics YouTube, so go follow us over there. Next Monday night, myself, Rob, and Rick are going to be reviewing Glass Onion, which is the Knives Out sequel. So we're checking that out next Monday. And then next Tuesday, we'll be back here, another episode of the Barroom Podcast for you guys. If you're on Twitch, I'm going to go ahead and raid my good buddy Mac Malley. So you guys can go watch his channel over there. He's playing Madden and getting his ass kicked. So you guys should have fun over there watching him lose and get frustrated. But until then, for everyone else who's joined us here tonight, I know we had a bunch of people in the chat here tonight. I know Neo, because I gave him a timeout earlier tonight for derailing the show. I know Alex vs. Evil was here. Dre was here. Damon's Ghost was here. Josh was here for like a minute and then left. Duke Nukem, who's always here with us. And everyone else. No, Oz was here for a little bit. So for everyone who joined us in the chat, if I forgot you, I still appreciate you. Until then, we're going to go ahead and sign off here and get on with our lives. So we're going to go ahead and hit this outro. Get the hell out of here. Goodbye. Good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Don't drive into like a snow pit or something like that. Just go have a good time. Eat turkey and watch the Bills lose. So good night.
Yeah.